See what happens when we get it early? There you go.
Good. Are there agendas up here? I think they got.
We're about 20 more.
Mayor Blair, and I'm pleased that so many of you have joined us this evening. This is a public meeting and you are part of the process. I encourage you to participate, ask questions, and share your thoughts. I'd like you to feel as comfortable as possible, and I will do everything that I can to make sure that your voice is heard. We do have several goals to help us proceed with the meeting, and I ask that you please keep them in mind. Please turn off your cell phones. If you need to take calls, step outside the chamber. When you wish to speak, simply raise your hand and I will acknowledge you and you can come forward to the podium. Brenda Wheeler, our city clerk, must record who you are, so please state your name, spell your last name, and state your address. Keep your remarks brief, about 3 minutes, and others have the opportunity to speak. And please direct your comments to myself, to City Council, or to our city staff. A copy of the Open Meetings Act has been posted by both exits, and we will begin this evening with the roll call of members.
Present.
Here.
Thank you. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Item number 4, approval of consent agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Please register your vote.
Council members present voting aye.
Motion passes. Item number 5, we have a code save award for members of the Blair Volunteer Fire Department, Blair Police Department, and Washington County Sheriff's Office for actions on a rescue call on Wednesday, August 13th, 2025. Mr. Dunn.
Mayor, Council, how are you guys? All right, so short driving off. All right, so here tonight to present another code save to both the Blair Volunteer Fire Department, Blair Police Department, Washington County Sheriff's Department. This is something that is a big deal in our line of work, and to have two so close together is a big deal. What makes this one a little bit more special is we do have that individual here tonight with their family. Would love to be recognized as well. So quick background for everyone that's not aware, code save is one of the highest honors in public safety field. It's required to where we do have to do CPR and the person comes back and is able to walk out of the hospital alive on their own 2 feet, which is a very big deal. And this year, right now, Blair Volunteer Fire Department's been over 950 calls in 2025, and again, this is our second code save of the year right now. So it really speaks to the dedication of both the fire department, police department, sheriff's department, and everybody working together. Quick recap, so code save occurred on Wednesday, August 13th, approximately 4:33 p.m. Washington County 911 dispatchers Muldoon and Young took a 911 call about adult male down with CPR in progress by his wife. They obtained the vital information, including the patient's wife had begun CPR, and dispatched the appropriate agencies, including Blair Volunteer Fire Department, the Blair Police Department, and in Washington County Sheriff's Department, Deputy Justin Jorgensen was in the area and responded as well. Blair PD was the first agency there and got an AED on him right away and started providing care. From Blair PD, that was Chief Kinsey, Detective Cook, Detective Hathaway, and Officer Wattenbach. And again, Washington County Sheriff's Department Deputy Jorgensen arrived. They were able to move him into a open area in the house to make it a little bit easier to treat. They placed an AED and took over CPR from the family member. Blair members, Fire Captain Anthony Borders, Senior Cadet Hahn, and Assistant Chief Dunn were first to arrive on Blair on our squad, along with EMT Clausen arriving on scene. These members took over CPR and AED duties and began further interventions. Blair Volunteer Fire Department members, Firefighter EMT IV David McIntosh, Firefighter EMT IV Skylar Puffer, and then Senior Cadet Emmett McIntosh and Senior Cadet Landon Holtz arrived on our engine and assisted with further interventions and moving the patient to the squad. Once in the back of the squad, we transported to, gave dispatch the radio that we were going CPR in progress. Within 30 seconds of us leaving, the patient obtained return of spontaneous circulation, so ROSC in our field, where he awoke and began talking with BVF crew members. Everybody that was on this call has not seen to where we've had code save before, where the pulse comes back, patient comes back, but never where the person awakes and actually talks to us. And by the time we had him at the ER, was talking to us and everything. The dedication by everybody on this call is tremendous. A shout out to his wife who's here tonight. She began CPR. I mean, everything just ran perfectly for him that night. Can't stress it enough. So it's very exciting to be able to hand these awards out to everybody. So the awards that we go in here, Mayor, if you want to read names out, and they'll come up and get the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services is here to hand them their Code Save Award, and then they also get a pin. There is 2 that their certificates are missing because of a clerical error on my end, so I apologize, but we will get that to them. So, from there.
Thank you. I'm very proud to read these names. Would the following individuals please come forward? From the Blair Fire Department, Assistant Fire Chief Jacob Dunn. Fire Captain Anthony Borders. Firefighter EMT IV David McIntosh. Firefighter EMT IV Skylar Puffer. EMT Amy Clausen. Senior Cadet Chastity Hahn. Senior Cadet Emmett McIntosh. Senior Cadet Landon Holtz. From the Blair Police Department, Chief Jeremy Kinsey. Detective Josh Hathaway. Detective Russ Cook. Officer Aaron Wattenbach. And from the Washington County Sheriff's Department, Deputy Justin Jorgensen, 911 Dispatcher Kylie Young, and 911 Dispatcher Sheila Muldoon. Excellent job, everyone. Your community could not be prouder of you.
Last thing too, I forgot, because before we do want any more photos, I want to bring up the family, because they want, I mean, again, his wife, if it wasn't for his wife, we probably would not have the success rate we did. So go ahead and bring up Tara and James Rand, please, as well.
Glad to see you here tonight. All the good stuff's good.
We'll give them a few minutes.
Yeah. Missing her chance to escape. My wife's missing her chance to escape.
number 6. Consider amended ordinance 2585 on final reading for the 2025 Southwestern Annexation Plan, version 2. Staff, did you want to say anything first? Or are we just going to jump right in?
Yep, nope, I will say something, so thanks, Mayor, appreciate that. And good evening, everyone. This is not life-saving, but still important work to do. So good to see everybody else out. This is the third reading for this potential annexation package. I know several questions have been asked regarding whether any other changes could be made tonight and whether that would slow down the process. Not necessarily. As with almost anything that is presented to the council and that the public is invited to do, you can't expand beyond what was originally published. And so you couldn't add miscellaneous parcels to this particular area, but you could always reduce it some. So Aaron, why don't you go ahead and click on the map. Just a reminder, and there was some stuff in the PowerPoint too, but these two pictures are out there, same thing. So just a reminder that this is the annexation area. The area in the blue and this area down here was originally part of the original plan that had been put together. Then at the last council meeting, you had an amendment that was passed that took out all of these parcels that are in the far south and the eastern side of this particular area. Again, many of these were either larger lot residential areas, or a few are agricultural and just being used for ag purposes. And the remaining ones then are all along the western side, primarily down the 25th Street corridor, wrapping around over to County Road 31, and then this more industrial area that's in the far southwest corner. If this is approved tonight, the next item will be some rezoning that is being recommended as well that would go along with this, because it's typical then that when properties are brought into the city limits that they would have a different kind of zoning district applied to them. I can go over any questions that any of you may have regarding the plan, but again, nothing has changed since version 2 was presented last time. And again, you can take public comment if you'd like. And this is up for potentially third reading. Third reading would be the final reading. So if it's passed tonight the way it is, or amended by removing any other parcels, then those would go forward, obviously, to be brought into the city limits. If the whole thing dies tonight because it doesn't get either a motion and a second or is voted down, then this whole particular plan goes away, and then it would just depend upon some future event that might bring these into the city limits sometime in the future. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could have a council member introduce the ordinance, please.
I'll introduce ordinance 2592, version 1 from the planning commission.
You need to be on item 6. You're on 7.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
I'll introduce ordinance 2585 on final reading.
In ordinance of the city of Blair, Alaska, annex the limits of the city of Blair to exclude the real estate, which is generally described as 2025 Southwestern Annexation Plan, repealing all ordinances or parts of Orange conflict therewith, providing this ordinance to be full force and effect and published in pamphlet form.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the public? Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Tom Muff, MUFF 2530 Hollow Road. So again, I've talked at every meeting about this, but I'm still against this. Everything I've researched, you guys you own that road. You could right now go south on that 25th Street corridor. You could fix that road. When you get to the south end of that and have to go north, that you don't, but you could most certainly reduce what you annex. I'm still against my property getting annexed. I don't think you have to do that to fix 25th Street corridor going south, and I'm all for fixing it. I'm all for Hollow Road getting fixed. And then I'd also like to mention there's other housing developments in Blair that have single entrances. For example, Deerfield and then Baronage. Both of those have single entrances. And, you know, things could happen there. I know that was one of the big hang-ups they're talking about one way in on Hollow Road. So there's other properties that are exactly the same way. So there's other things that need to be fixed also. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mo. Any other comments from the public? Council, how would you like to proceed? Would you like more discussion?
I move for passage of amended ordinance 2585 on final reading.
Second.
Question?
The question before the council is, shall amended ordinance number 2585 be passed and adopted on final reading? Please register your vote.
Council members voting aye, Banner, Clark, Highfield, Letcher, Long, Paulson, and Wolf. Councilmember Willis voting nay.
I declare amended ordinance number 2585 passed on final reading. Item number 7, I'll open a public hearing to consider a rezone application submitted by the City of Blair for a change in the zoning of properties located in the Southwestern Annexation Plan V2. Mr. Green.
Thank you, Mayor. This item, obviously because of what was just passed and the annexation was approved in the amended form, now we have to deal with the zoning again for these particular parcels. When we began this process, and we have learned a lot, and I want the public to understand how much I really personally appreciate all the really good conversation that we've had. We've learned a lot. We've been trying to modify as much as we can. We've got further amendments that will be coming for municipal code, some other things that the Planning Commission is still dealing with that would kind of ease the burden for bringing some of these larger lots that are on the edge of town into the city limits. So again, appreciate all the really good feedback and comments that we've gotten. But we started this process with zoning all the way back in July. You're going to be dealing with a variety of issues that came from the Planning Commission here in August. Now we're back a whole nother month earlier. And so at that point in time, what we presented to the Planning Commission, because all rezones have to go to the Planning Commission first for their recommendation to you, we started first with what was our recommendation at that point in time. And so kind of similar to the actual annexation plan where there was a version 1 and then you amended that and replaced it with a version 2, we're going to ask that you do the same thing on the zoning piece. There was an original version 1, which I'll show you here in a second, and our recommendation to you, if you're going to change the zoning at all, would be that, again, you replace version 1 with version 2, which I think really softens the impact on the properties involved, and I'll explain that in a minute. So Aaron, why don't you go on? I get the clicker. Okay. So this was version 1 that we originally presented to the Planning Commission. And kind of philosophically, what we've always said with the council, when you have a recommendation that comes from the Planning Commission, is that you can lessen it, but you can't increase it, or you can't increase beyond what was published in the newspaper. And this is what was originally described and published was, and again, this starts on kind of the far northern side of the area that was approved, that at that point in time, we looked at all of these coming into the city, and the least dense residential districts that we've had previously in the city limits has been RL. Again, we're recommending, still at the Planning Commission stage right now, that the rural residential estates be kind of rebranded residential estates and be able to be in the city limits as well. We feel like that would be more appropriate for some of these larger lots that are there. But at the time, back in July, we were thinking, well, the least dense we had was RL, so these should all become RL. There were a few other lots that were exceptionally large or potentially undeveloped on that stretch of 25th Street, don't have the map up here, that were TA, which is the new transitional ag that we came up with. And then you get down to these ones that are in the down southwest corner. Again, some of these were completely taken out of the annexation package. The other ones have always been proposed to be highway commercial. That's what the future land use map shows, is a strip of commercial down that particular area. And in fact, some of the uses that are being looked at for the subdividing and then conditional use permits that are going to be before you tonight all assume that this is going to be zoned highway commercial. So that was version 1, which again we're asking you to replace with this, which would be version 2. Now again, this represents the fact that these parcels have been completely taken out of the previous annexation package, but then you have all the other ones that we're now recommending just rezone them to transitional ag. They're ag right now. This transitional ag district is a new district that we've just recently been working on, but it's really there to kind of accommodate those ag-related larger lots that really maybe aren't fully defined on what they are going to be someday, or they're used by property owners that really enjoy those large lots, that there's really no reason why it couldn't be transitional ag and still be in the city limits. Someday, if it gets more dense development on it, we can always rezone those parcels sometime in the future. And then you'll notice down here in the southwest area, there's one residential lot that doesn't have any kind of commercial aspect to it. We're recommending that be transitional ag as well. And then because of the future land use map, all the rest then would be highway commercial. So that would be version 2. So again, if you're interested, our recommendation from staff is that as you begin this process tonight of looking at this and voting on it, that ultimately you'd have somebody would make a motion to replace version 1 with version 2, and the language is kind of listed out there for you. And then if there's a second for that, you would vote on replacing version 1 with this version 2. Then you would go on to potentially approve this. And as often you do as a council, when items are an ordinance and require 3 readings, you oftentimes waive those. So again, you might potentially waive the second and third reading on this. You can do that because this is not the annexation itself. This is just the rezone. So you can waive that second and third reading. But again, you'll be approving potentially then the amended version, not the original version 1. So any questions for me? Again, apologize that it's kind of muddy and murky, but that's partly because we've been listening to the concerns that the residents have and trying to accommodate that as much as we could.
So you're proposing going away from the residential
Yeah,
estate?
because transitional ag acknowledges that residential use or limited agricultural use is part of that potential use, but it stops the really large agricultural developments that just wouldn't fit well with more dense residential development if that does occur in or around these areas.
And under that designation, they'd still have all the abilities to do.
And that's a great
most of the
point too,
things.
yes. Under the transitional ag and the changes that we've been making in the municipal code, you're allowing anybody who's in either the transitional ag or the RRE or rebranded RE to take advantage of that. These all being TA, transitional ag, that fits with what you've passed so far with some of these changes recently. So yeah, so the animals, especially the ones that we've looked at, we're going to be coming back to you with further changes on the open burning aspect. We're still looking into a few of the other benefits that people enjoy in some of these areas and see how much we can accommodate for those. So great point. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Comments from the public? Brenda, do we have any comments in writing? Okay. Council, how would you like to proceed?
So do I have to introduce ordinance 1 and then we'll amend it?
Correct.
So I'll introduce ordinance 2592 version 1 from Planning Commission.
An ordinance adopting an updated zoning map changing all lots to a new zoning designation as outlined in Exhibit A, all in Washington County, Nebraska, repealing all ordinance, parts of ordinance conflict herewith, providing when this bill should be full force and effect, and ordering this ordinance to be published in pamphlet form.
Second.
I move to amend ordinance 2592 by replacing version 1 property list and map with version 2 property list and maps.
Second.
Question.
I don't know if we have a question yet.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay, but we're gonna,
That's not the ordinance here.
it's as clear as mud. That's all right. No big deal. We have a motion and a second to vote on the amended ordinance 2592. Please register your vote.
All council members present voting aye.
I move the statutory rule regarding reading on 3 different days be suspended for consideration of settlements. Said amended ordinance.
Second. Question.
The question before the council now is, shall the statutory rule requiring a reading on 3 different days be suspended? Please register your vote.
All council members present voting aye.
Now, do you reread the ordinance by title or not?
I don't think so.
mean, sometimes you do, but I don't necessarily think you have to.
Since you just did it.
I move final passage for amended ordinance 2592.
Second.
Question?
Everybody, the question before the council is, shall the amended ordinance 2592 be passed and adopted? Please register your vote.
All council members present voting aye.
I declare amended ordinance number 2592 duly adopted. Item number 8, I'll open a public hearing to consider a conditional use permit renewal application submitted by Karen M. Baker, 2106 Grant Street in Blair, for the continuation of Baker's Bed and Breakfast, boarding and rooming house, and a lighted sign on lots 11 and 12 and part of vacated street, block 101, 6th edition of Blair, Washington County, Nebraska, for continuation for 10 years and is non-transferable. Mr. Byerman.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Jeff Byerman, Community Development Director. First up tonight in the conditional use permit renewals is Baker's Bed and Breakfast. That is, they renewed, this will be their renewal first time in 10 years. 2106 Grant Street. The zoning here is multifamily low density district. They have conditional use permit for boarding room and houses, which means basically B&B. That does fall under the exceptions in RML, which does require a conditional use permit. First one was issued in 2015. They followed up with a sign in 2017 that was set to renew same time that this one did, which is why both 2015 and 2017, the B&B and the sign, lighted sign, if it's lighted, are rolled into one. That's why now there's been no complaints. There were 3 guest rooms at the first CUP. They have now 2. They've complied with the existing stipulations, which is 1 off-street parking space per rental unit. And then, of course, if the sign is lighted, it turns off at 10 p.m. Planning Commission did vote 6-0 in favor, or recommended. Here's our location here, 21 and Grant Street. You can see it's surrounded by RML here, RM district a little bit farther off to your southwest. Is a picture of the location with sign, parking spots on that location right there. So we can go back here, you can see the parking stalls off street. And right there would be off street. And this is just a copy of the first 2 conditional use permits. With that, any questions from the council? Currently, the sign's unlighted, correct?
You know, I don't know. I didn't get around.
The picture, it appeared that it was unlit. Do we know if they have any intention on?
You know, I believe, hopefully they're here tonight and they can answer that. But if there's no more questions for staff, I'll let the applicant.
Thank you.
Sorry, thank you.
Good evening, Council. I am Karen Baker, 2106 Grant Street, Blair, Nebraska.
Can you spell your last name?
Baker.
Perfect. Thank you.
What can I answer? Lighted, solar.
Okay. By lighted, is it be like a digital
No,
or just lights
it's
on?
a light on the sign directly, so yeah. Any other questions? for me?
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was easy. Any other comments from the public? Any comments in writing? And we'll close the public hearing. How would council like to proceed?
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional renewal application submitted by Karen M. Baker for bed and breakfast, boarding and rooming house, and a lighted sign for 10 years, and a CUP, and the CUP be non-transferable with the planning commission stipulations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the conditional use permit. Please register your vote.
All council members present voting aye.
Motion passes. Item number 9. I'll open a public hearing to consider a non-conforming use limited extension application submitted by A and Susan J. Beverland, 1358 Lincoln Street in Blair to add 6 feet to a 13-foot wide replacement front stoop on lots 18 and 19, Block 49, City of Blair in Washington County, Nebraska, for the life of the structure. Mr. Byerman.
Thank you. Our next item is the, again, non-conforming use. And what this is, and here's the location here on Lincoln Street, they were rebuilding their front stoop. It was in disrepair. We looked at it as being a life safety. We, other than a permit, they weren't really going to need any sort of non-conforming or CUP for that. However, as they were working on things, they wanted to make it a little bit longer. Not any farther into the right-of-ways, either side or front, but just a little bit longer. They were told by a contractor at that time it's not a big deal. Fortunately, it was, because we looked at it as enlarging enlarging the non-conforming use. It is this way because the zoning is ACH, and this is a residence that has been out of zone. So any expansion for the current dwelling does require this non-conforming limited use extension, very much like just a CUP, a special permit. Again, while they were making all these plans and actually started to do work, they did find out that they actually needed to have this permit. They're about halfway through the project. It was a life safety issue. It was their front door. We came to an agreement that they could finish it and they could enlarge it as they wanted to, but they did sign an agreement saying that if for whatever reason the non-conforming use was denied, and that is only the extra area that's added on, they would take care of that and remove it. They did sign a written agreement to that. Here's the location right here, Highway Commercial, just a couple blocks south of downtown Blair on 1358. Surrounded, of course, by central business, high density, limited commercial, highway commercial, and back up in the CCB. This is the original stoop right here. It was in disrepair. Again, we had no problem with them replacing the stoop, it's just when they wanted to enlarge on the side. We looked at the plans. They were not encroaching upon the front setback at all. In fact, they weren't even encroaching on the side. By all purposes, it really is the same footprint. They want a little bit bigger, making it look a little nicer. One of their comments was, we really just want this to look really nice for the city. So with that, they applied, and Planning Commission did recommend 6-0 to approve this. Any questions for staff?
Thank you. Any comments from the public? Any comments in writing? I will close the public hearing.
Motion to approve the non-conforming use limited extension application submitted by Brian and Susan Beverlin to add 6 feet to replacement front stoop for the life of the structure. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve non-conforming use. Please register your vote.
All council members present voting aye.
Motion passes. Item number 10, I'll open a public hearing to consider a conditional use permit application submitted by Kevin Barnhill, 861 South 16th Street, Blair, for Reach Church, 13121 County Road 16, Blair, Nebraska, to use the existing dwelling for a church office and meeting space on tax lot 92, section 34, township 19 north, range 11 east of the 6 p.m., Washington County, Nebraska, otherwise known as 13412 County Road 16, for 10 years. Mr. Byerman.
Thank you. So Reach Church is looking to expand, have a little more office space, not in the present footprint. Didn't work out. They were able to buy this parcel out, and they wanted to turn this into an office, which, as you can see, is up here within our 2-mile ETJ, but still outside the city limits. Being an ag zone district, part of the exceptions are number 5, community facilities and institutions, monetary, you guys can read, but it talks about other religious institutions. With this, they did want to turn this house into just an office and / meeting space. There will be no structural modifications to the house. At one point, when they are able to, I think, to expand, what Mr. Barnhill has explained to me, they will plan on probably turning this back into a house. So no major modifications. We did have a question, a very good question during Planning Commission. One of the commissioners asked if the septic system is sized to meet any sort of office things. And through Mr. Barnhill and I think John Henton as a septic expert, SME, subject matter expert, said that, yeah, the system, and it's actually probably less taxing on septic system not having a full-time house there. So with that, the Planning Commission recommended approval for 620. Any questions on this CUP request?
Thank you. Any comments from the public? Any comments in writing? I will close the public hearing.
Motion to approve the conditional use permit application submitted by Kevin Barnhill for the Reach Church to use the existing dwelling for a church office and meeting space as presented.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the CUP application. Please register your vote.
All council members present voting aye.
Motion passes. Item number 11, open a public hearing to consider a conditional use permit application submitted by Donna J. and John M. Hinton, co-trustees, 13092 U.S. Highway 30, Blair, Nebraska, for a recreation vehicle RV park on Lot 1 of Hinton Camping and Storage Subdivision, being a platting of tax lot 16 and 17 in the east half of the northeast quarter of 27, Town 18 North, Range 11, east of the 6 p.m., Washington County, Nebraska, for 20 years. Mr. Byerman.
Thank you again. So the next two items, next two CUPs, are on the new Hinton Camping and Storage Subdivision, which is just south of town. However, these are two separate conditional use permits. They can't be lumped into one because they are on two different lots and they're actually two different uses. We're talking about the area down here, newly admitted to the city of Blair, and also now ACH, which helps because that was one of the conditions and one of the issues of having this as a CUP was they had to rezone to highway commercial. Recreation vehicles and exception to ACH, this was added because of the fact that during the housing study and during some of the other studies, it was kind of brought to our attention, there's really nowhere for people who are working at some of these new jobs in the area to really park their RVs. A friend of mine was a steel worker a lot. They travel in the RVs and stuff like that. We have a few other limited places. Sometimes they're in Fremont. I think Tacoma may have had one across the river. Our own park in town has a daily limit on it. Plus, we don't want anybody who's living, for 4 months to take up any residential or recreational. And then other areas that could be used as my aunt is an RVer, and they are always looking for places to stay for more than 2 or 3 weeks at a time, sometimes a month. With that, there's pretty limited areas in this. Right now, on this new subdivision, there are no city utilities. However, the septic will be private, and under the rules for the CUP application, the CUP private septic can be added as part of the CUP regulations. They will, however, connect to the city of Blair's water. Planning Commission recommended approval of $5 presented, of course, with that stipulation that it cannot move forward unless it is rezoned to highway commercial, which you did just moments ago. Right now, we show the Hinton subdivision, lot 1, 2, and 3. We're primarily talking about lot 1 for the RV park. Currently, it's in the ETJ. This is just a rough drawing, just an early idea what Mr. Hinton would like it to look at. There's a separate entrance right here. Houses, trees, I believe you'll see there's a house on there. They're going to leave that. He's going to leave as much trees as possible for screening from the highway, try to keep it a little bit more private. Again, this is how it would fit on that lot. Again, this is just early drawings. We don't exactly know how big it's going to be or anything like that. But it will have to fit and, of course, accommodate whatever septic system is put in and authorized by the state of Nebraska. Here we have lot 1. This is looking to the northeast from County Road P26. There's a house here, and this is the area they would work on. Overview of that, you can see wooded areas right here, entrance right there, and again, another view from that. So with that, any questions for staff on this CUP application? Yes, sir.
I might just reemphasize what you already said. The layout that he had there was just purely an example.
Yeah.
Okay? It's all gonna be on private property inside of his lot. And so if you were to approve this tonight with no required layout or stipulation, you're leaving it kind of up to the applicant to decide how many lots, how he wants the interior roads configured, things like that. We feel comfortable with that. If you, though, have a clear idea in mind what you want to see, you would have to make recommendations then and apply that to this conditional use permit and make it a requirement. So I just want you to know, don't have the expectation necessarily someday in the future if he develops it slightly differently and you look and go, well, that's not what we approved. What you approved is the use, not necessarily the layout. But if you did want to approve part of the layout, you need to stipulate that tonight.
And again, one of the stipulations does have to be that he's allowed to use private septic system as part of the conditional use permit requirements.
Any other questions for Mr. Byerman? Thank you. Any comments from the public?
Council. I'm Nina Davis, D-A-V-I-S, it's N-E-E-N-A. I've got some questions and
Address, please, ma'am.
pardon me?
Your address?
Oh,
Thank you.
12624 County Road P26.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, no,
I live at the opposite end of P26 that this is going to be on. And my concern is, I wish I had the picture up. I don't know how to do the pictures.
We'll bring it back.
Okay. I just want to state my concern about the highway. I'm not going to use a pointer because I don't know. The highway comes down here, touches this P26 kind of out here somewhere. And there's a hill right up at the corner of Hinton's property coming down to that road. And that road coming into the highway is really kind of a tricky turn. Yeah, it doesn't even show on this. Well, right here. Yeah, right here is where I'm talking about. It's kind of scary along here for just regular traffic. My concern is RV trailers and bigger units and that sort of thing. I'm just really concerned about the safety of that turn, not only there, but at the opposite end of the road where we live. There's already been one bad accident at the top of that hill on 133. Don't know what needs to be done there, but both ends of that road are rather dangerous. And I just wanted to point that out to the council to see if, I don't know, if any improvements could be made or changes into Hinton's property, or that end, especially on 30, be configured in a way that could help the travelers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Other comments from the public?
Patty Ann Belitz, B-E-L-I.
Pull that down.
Yeah, sorry.
The whole thing.
I'm
No worries.
technologically challenged here. That's better, thank you. I'm Patty Ann Belitz, B as in boy, E-L-I-T-Z, 12936 County Road P26. I've stood up here at every one of these meetings and expressed my same concerns about the traffic at both of those intersections, just as Mrs. Davis just did a few minutes ago. So I'm very concerned and opposed to the RV park. The drawing there, I think it's slide 30, that shows the proposed number of campsites there. And I think if you count those campsites, I think there are 50 of them. That's going to create a lot of additional traffic for large vehicles in and out of that area. So that will significantly increase the amount of traffic on P26 as well. And I believe, is here. We now have a family on our county road that has the school bus stopping a couple of times a day. And, that's a huge concern for those families with kids getting on and off the school bus, because traffic flies up and down that county road. There are no speed limit signs posted, and it's very unsafe. And also very concerned about the transient nature of the people that will be inhabiting that area when I'm the adjoining property owner. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Okay. She says you can go first.
All right. Caleb Metzger, 12896, County Road P26.
Will you spell your last name, please?
Metzger, Metzger.
Thank you.
I am the family that just moved in 6 months ago. It is a major concern with the amount of traffic that will be coming through. I've noticed just from my short travels and trying to get onto Highway 30 from that intersection, it is a very tight turn. My conversations with some of the neighbors and some of the larger accidents with the semi-trucks there at that corner trying to turn in and off has been an issue. So I guess if we could, if it does pass, at least get a new entrance into the property, possibly from the highway, just to help possibly decrease some of that traffic coming through. But like she said, my kids get on and off the bus there in the morning, and it would just be a huge concern with traffic there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Metzger.
Jenny Erickson, 13429 Spring Ridge Loop here in Blair.
Spell your last name, please.
Oh, Eriksen, probably opposite of how you wrote it. So I've been following this a little bit, and I think it's important to point out the city and the mayor as a whole put together a housing committee. The housing committee said there was a need for this, and now we have a local business owner who's dedicated and committed to this community putting this together. I think there's a definite need for it. I think the roads need addressed. This came up when we talked about the Southern Hills subdivision. We've now annexed some things. We know the city's growing in this direction. So I think the roads need addressed, but I don't think that's a reason why we don't allow something like this to happen. As a construction company here in town, I can tell you we have a lot of employees. We just built the water plant who kept saying, where can I go? Where can I put something like this? And so as we know, we're going to continue to see growth in construction in our community. I think the Hentons are creating a great opportunity for something where we can have some of those people housed while they are here. So just wanted to say that I support it.
Thank you. Other comments from the public? Applicant? You're not really public. Applicant.
John Henton, County Road 299505, Henton. Yeah, now if the city has annexed the street, one thing that would maybe help relieve some of this is why don't we lower the speed limit a little bit on that road? It is unmarked. It is 50 on a county road that is unmarked. Now that it's become part of the city, I don't see anything wrong with lowering that speed limit down. That would be a good idea. I mean, I don't see any reason why it would hurt a thing. As far as the intersections, those are approved by the Nebraska Department of Roads. I mean, they were just designed. Yeah, they're not the best, but there are other places too that aren't great either. I just wanted to address the concerns of the people. I'm just looking for the working type people, an RV that will house them. There are so many professions that come to town that are very specialized. You got people coming to the calcium plant, the Cargill campus, the linemen when there's problems, when there's new transmission lines, big problems going on, they all travel that way. I've had tons of people that I know and all the work-related things that we do say the same thing, that Blair kind of has a need for it. We got a lot of industry going on, a lot of specialized workers. It's kind of what the idea was. Septic system-wise, Riverland Park is all in septic systems. There are several other campsites have been involved in. It's all approved by the state, NDE. It's all designed, and it's a safe use of the land.
I have a question. Oh, go ahead. No, I'm not the only one, I guess.
Go ahead, Kurt. John, do you know how many spots, I know this is just a prelim drawing. Do you know about how many spots you're gonna have on there?
I'm gonna start at 25, and I'm going to leave all the trees, and I'm not gonna sandwich there like what the drawing shows. You ask an engineer to tell them that you want to put in a campsite, and you get a drawing such as this. I am going to self-design, make them larger, save the trees, you know, make it a friendlier place to be than the cookie cutter idea of that. That's what I had in mind.
That was my question. So you don't see it exceeding 45 spaces?
I'll see how many fits on the property. The way the lines are drawn now, probably not though, because they'll be more spread out than what it shows there. So, probably no.
And John, you'd also, I'm sorry, you commented that you're looking at long-termers in our conversation. You're not talking about someone, like, I think a misconception is it's not going to be Hardy Park. It's not going to be people going in and out of there on a day-to-day basis. It's going to be those people that are going to sit there 2-3 months at a time. They're going to be wanting to spend their money for food, for other things, which obviously get them in Blair. They're going to be at Walmart. They're going to be shopping and spending money at our grocery stores and our restaurants. So,
Correct.
but we're not looking at a short-term basis. Overnighters and stuff like that is not your prime.
Not my prime, no.
Yep.
I mean, if somebody wants to stop by for a night or two, sure, but no, that's not the type of place I'm looking for.
Mr. Hinton, first of all, I want to thank you very much for inviting some of this out. To be honest, before I came out and saw the property, I was pretty much set against it. So that gave me an opportunity to kind of visualize maybe and see how that might work. That being said, my concern is maybe the opposite of rather than short-term stayers is my concern would be maybe not immediately, but down the line, people that are staying an extended period of time, even making it a residence, and I would be concerned with that being a long-term trend where it turns out to be more of a mobile home park than a campground. So I'd like to see if there would be maybe some sort of way we could come up with an agreement there'd be a maximum stay, whether it be 180 days, whatever, but I'm just saying I would be concerned about overstaying.
Sure, I don't want a homestead park either. You know, I want them after either. You know, I understand
So
that.
you'd be open to some sort of a limit of,
I would be, yeah.
okay.
And I do feel in looking at it, the only concern that I had was that turnoff from Highway 30. I mean, it is kind of a sharp turn, but I think that there's room for possibly expanding that out to make that an easier left-hand turn as you're going south on 30. That was the only other suggestion that I had, but
All good? Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Now is the time to make stipulations, is that correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay, so how does council want to proceed with number of spaces and length of stay? If you want to put that in, now's the time.
It sounds like the site's gonna limit the size, the number of spaces, so I don't think we have to worry too much about that. We're not gonna double stack them, so.
I agree. I think that the photo, that layout was pretty much impossible for campers owning a 40-foot fifth wheel as I do. You're not going to be able to get those in there that tight. I think there's going to be less spaces when it's all said and done.
Length of stay?
Some of them gotta stay here 6 months at a time working, so you gotta kind of work with that.
They could be here a long time, working
Yeah.
6 or 9 months is nothing.
And if they have to move from spot to
How
spot.
long do you have people at the water plant? 2 years.
Yeah.
So do you want to make that stipulation or not?
I think John would do that for us.
Yep,
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah, depends on how things go, but give them a chance to try it and see.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other comments from the public? Any other additional comments in writing? I will close the public hearing. How would council like to proceed?
I move we approve the conditional use permit application submitted by Donna and John M. Hinton for the recreation vehicle RV park for 20 years, contingent upon the parcel they rezone to ACH.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the conditional use permit application for the RV park. Please register your vote.
All council members voting aye.
Motion passes. Item number 12, I'll open a public hearing to consider a conditional use permit application submitted by Donna J. and John M. Hinton, co-trustees, 13092 US Highway 30, Blair, Nebraska, for storage indoor and outdoor on Lot 3 of Henton Camping and Storage Subdivision, being a plating of tax lot 16 and 17 in the east half of the northeast quarter of Section 27, Township 18 North, Range 11, east of the 6 p.m., Washington County, Nebraska, for 20 years. Mr. Byerman.
Thank you. So the second half of this CP, as I explained before, it does have to do with the same subdivision, Hinton Camping, however, just on a different lot. Highway, or the place again we're talking about, is south, just within our corporate boundary. It should have been better on the map. Zoning currently, again, is currently ag for that area. Future zoning is now ACH, which is required for the storage. Storage, indoor and outdoor, is an exception in ACH. So now that it's been approved as ACH, it is a viable CUP request. Part of this says the use shall not be permitted on lots with highway frontage. This lot number 3, as we will see, is not on the highway at all. And then there's requirements for paving, such as hard surface, stuff like that, but it's within, I think, 1 to 500 feet. We'd have to measure that. I think the plan of Mr. Hinton's is to have some sort of asphalt anyway, but that'd be up to him to answer. Planning Commission to recommend approval 6-0 as presented. Again, we're looking at Lot 3 of the Hinton Camping and Storage Subdivision. Again, accessible through County Road P26. I had sent a voicemail to the county engineer, seeing if there were any objections, as if we wanted that access road. I've never heard back from the county road superintendent. This is an overall picture right now. We have the zoning as ACH, fills in this area now too as we come down. It's been changed as tonight. And this, again, much like the last one, is just a rough idea of what this is going to look like. Right now, he's got the 4 buildings right there. It's going to be accessible through here. This will be a private road. I will, going to guess that that's going to be a turnaround that should accommodate any sort of emergency vehicles. That might be a question to ask the applicant if you have a chance. Other than that, everything inside here and here and here and here will be private roads. The city will not have anything to do with that. Again, just another idea. Proposed detention cell, I'm sure that's for if there's stormwater management in the area. It's going to take up the Lot 3 of the Hinton subdivision. This is what it looks like looking to the northwest from basically the property line on the southeast corner, looking to the northwest. We see P26 here and this area up in here. This would be the area for the RV park down in that area. And an overhead view of the area like this here. Then this is up looking toward the houses there. There's already a established tree line right in this area. With that, any questions for staff? Again, the roads will be private, separate access. Mr. Hinton can answer any other questions.
Thank you. Comments from the public? Council, do you have questions for the applicant?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
John Hinton, HENTON, 9505, County Road 29.
So Jeff brought up the point where, are you gonna have a circle in there for emergency equipment for fire trucks and those kind of things to get in and out?
I would assume I'll need one for campers, as well.
Okay.
Get them in there turned around.
And then, again, this is preliminary drawing. Do you have a better concept of what you're looking at for these buildings?
Not exactly. I'm thinking of trying RV storage first, but I don't know how many I can fill, so it'll probably build over time. I'll probably build 1 or 2 buildings, see how I get along and what rents the best, and then expand from there.
And I do agree with Mr. Hinton's idea that we should talk to the city and maybe the county. This county's gonna be a part of the P26 about lowering the speed limit on that. I don't know if we can do something here or not.
Kirk kind of hit on my question. I was going to ask, going from this preliminary plan layout,
with it being called indoor storage and outdoor storage, where you were planning, excuse me, for the outdoor storage, but like you said, maybe not build one of the buildings right away, see how it goes type thing.
Yeah, I'm not too interested in outdoor storage. It's not anything I'm really wanting to do. I'd rather have it all inside. I own green roof storage, and it's hard enough to keep people from putting it outside for me that I really don't want them to park things and leave more of their non-wanted materials out there, so, yeah.
Yeah, because I think that would be a concern is for aesthetics in the area, if you're gonna have a bunch of long-term park RVs and et cetera out there. But if it's indoors, who cares? That's up to you if they want.
Yeah, no, it's part of it, but it's not what I'm after. I'm looking for indoor.
Any other questions for the applicant?
John, was that detention portion that they mentioned that was just north of that, what was that mainly for?
You need a detention pond for your
Oh,
runoff.
detention pond,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Yeah, as part of the permitting process, you have to control your runoff.
John, since you're standing there, just a reminder to all of you that the actual request that you're gonna be voting on is for indoor and outdoor storage.
Yes.
Now would be the time to limit that then, if you feel like you don't want any outside. And again, it's an opportunity to say, not thinking about it now versus not gonna be allowed to unless you came back and got a change in this conditional use permit. So, something to think about.
So you're okay with no outdoor storage if we strike that from the CUP?
I think so.
Okay.
Yes,
I think we
yeah.
should do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree. Make for a cleaner area.
Any other questions? Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Any other comments from the public? Going once. I will close the public hearing. Council, how would you like to proceed?
So can we just read it without the outdoor, or do we have to amend this?
I would just say with the stipulation that no outdoor storage be allowed. Because the use is kind of set in our book, that's the title that it's given. But that you can specify, in this particular situation, no outside storage.
All right, I move to approve the conditional use permit application submitted by Donna and John M. Hinton for storage indoor for 20 years, contingent upon the parcel being rezoned to ACH, with stipulation there will not be any outdoor storage.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the conditional use permit application. Please register your vote.
All council members present voting aye.
Motion passes. Item number 13, I'll open a public hearing to consider a rezoning application submitted by the City of Blair, updating the zoning map by adding Article 10, Section 1011, Special Use Near Residential District, SUR, as an overlay on the area east of 18th Street, south of Park Street, west of 10th Street, and north of Union Pacific Railroad right-of-way in the City of Blair. This overlay requires all permitted businesses, uses, and structures which are also within 300 feet of a residential district to obtain a conditional use permit.
Now I know how CJ felt last time. Thank you again for good questions tonight. Last part of Planning Commission and zoning for tonight is the overlay district, which we are going to ask to be placed over basically the old Conoco/Aztec plant and other areas near it. When we did, let's see, the special use district is this overlay, again, for commercial industrial areas that are going to give the residents within 300 feet a chance to talk about this, a CUP. If you remember, recently, we eliminated the requirement for light industrial and heavy industrial requiring a CUP for any residential zoning within, I think, 300 feet. That was because on our areas that are designed for industrial, they are sometimes awfully too close to the residential, and it may not even be residential where there are people there. It might be just like a school or apartments, stuff like that. So part of removing that, we did want to be able to have the citizens to have some say on what is going on in our central part of town. After hearing this, we went to 300 feet instead of the 500 feet that's been required by sometimes, or some previous requirements. because the state only requires us to notify people within 300 feet of the property. So a lot of those people at 500 feet away would never have gotten a notice anyway. So we wanted to bring it back in closer to the people that's really was designed to notify through the state statute. This is an overlay of the whole area right here. We included residential in this area also, but it goes from Park Street and 18th all the way down to the railroad tracks, all the way over to 10th Street and back up here. You'll notice the light industrial area east of 10th Street's not included. I'll get to that in a little bit. But this would require all of the AML areas in here within this boundary and any future AML buildings, stuff like that, to have to go through the CUP process. This would be those areas right here, Matisse and Grain. We have more grain over here, Aztec. This area here is the former Washington County feed that's now going to be part of Aztec. And then we have these buildings along State Street in this area too. Again, this overlay is just going to replace what was eliminated before, allowing citizens to have a comment on what uses are happening. Thoughts? No, not me. I have enough this way, enough to do as it is. I thought we had a picture of the property east of 10th Street, and that is a lot of area that is really residential, and the school sits right across the street, within 500 feet. In fact, there are buildings down off of Highway 30. They're within 300 to 500 feet of these areas also. So by eliminating everything on east of 10th Street, which is pretty much industrial, and again, only bordered by residential, most of it's a school, which is not really residential, but is still residentially zoned. So with that, any questions for staff on this overlay?
So I'm confused on what you just said about East and 10th Street.
Okay.
So is it included or not included?
It is not included. We're staying west of 10 to east of 18.
Any other questions for staff?
Clear as mud.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the public? Any comments in writing?
None.
I will close the public hearing. Council, what say you?
I'll introduce ordinance number 2591.
An ordinance placing section 1011 SUR special use near residential district, an overlay district of 18th Street, south of Park Street, west of 10th Street, and north of the Union Pacific Railroad right-of-way, the city of Blair, Washington County, Nebraska, repealing all ordinance parts and large conflicts herewith, and providing this motion before first in effect and published in the form.
I move the statutory rule regarding reading on 3 different days be suspended for consideration of said ordinance.
Second.
Question?
The question before the council is, shall a statutory rule requiring reading on 3 different days be suspended? Please register your vote.
All council members present voting aye. An ordinance placing section 1011 SUR special use near residential district and overlay district of 18th Street, south of Park Street, west of 10th Street, and north of the Union Pacific Railroad right-of-way in the city of Blair, Washington County, Nebraska, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing this motion be full force and effect and published in the actual form.
I move for final passage of ordinance number 2591.
Second.
Question?
The question now before the council is, shall ordinance number 2591 be passed and adopted? Please register your vote.
All council members present voting aye.
I declare ordinance number 2591 duly adopted. And at this time, I'm going to have mercy on the high schoolers. We're going to take a 5-minute break. You will be allowed to leave, but first come on up so we can sign your papers. Because you're going to go home and study, right? Hey!
Oh, he's got to stay to the end.
Come on up. 5 minutes. We'll reconvene at 8:15. Yes, better together. You see that? I love it.
I got it.
Came home with a screaming headache and a really bad sore throat, and he went straight to sleep, and he slept for about 5 hours. But he woke up before I came here, and he said, he goes, I feel a lot better. But he said he's not the only one. He'll be there tomorrow. He'll be there tomorrow.
That's her second award, isn't it? That's the second time you won that. Nice work. Nice work.
It's kind of like for a while, did Nebraska have a award saying Nebraska nice? Blair nice, I like it. Small town nice. Yep. That's us, we just let those high schoolers go home. Well, I think we're at the we're at item number 13. I mean, actually, I'm at 14. And I know that. So I'm like, now we're getting into the 8:30 mark, so I thought it was just.
Well, I think most of the ones we did, took that chunk out. Took a lot of the sales.
I did, I had a meeting with her, and it's, I told her, I said, you need, I said, you came and you were wonderful. And it's all Welcome back.
Making the call?
We're item on number 14. Item number 14, request to appear before the mayor and city council by Jenny Erickson on behalf of the Friends of the Jeanette Hot Animal Shelter to discuss budget requests for the shelter. Yep,
I got two ready.
that's you.
Okay, you have some slides. I'm not going to go through all these. I just mainly wanted to give you guys the information so you had some of it. The 2024 numbers we already went through. I'm going to go through these first couple things kind of fast. Cheryl, who is our saint for financial stuff and data, has put together all of the January through June numbers. And we just got those as of yesterday, so I did want to present these just to show everyone kind of where we're at. I know there's been a lot of talk on city, county, other communities, and so forth. You can see January through the end of June. I'm just going to do the summaries. Blair has 64% of dogs and then 73% of cats. You can see Fort Calhoun up there, Herman, Kennard, and Arlington. What I did separately then is I broke that out for animals inside city limits and outside city limits. And I just showed you the top three here. Blair, if you look at total dogs that were inside city limits, 23, 24, and then the first half of 25, you can see where we are. And then same for cats, did the same for Washington County and Fort Calhoun. I'm going to keep moving through this so we can answer questions that you have. Then what I did is I took total animal counts divided by total animals to show you the overall percentage of animals each entity has. You can see City of Blair in 2025 is about 52%. 2024 was kind of a skewed year, and I want everyone to remember that because we had the large hoarding case, and I'll cover that in a second, in the county where 55 cats and 2 or 3 dogs were taken in from one home in one arrest situation. So that really skewed everything for 2024. One of the things we're really doing right now is we're trying to keep our volunteer hours going so we don't have to have as many paid staff members. And I just wanted to put this up here showing you our volunteer hours for each month. We have been sitting around that 400 mark, and that gal sitting right there in the middle, purple shirt, Kelly, is our volunteer coordinator. She's down at the shelter almost 5 days a week volunteering her time to coordinate the volunteers. And without these volunteers, those are man hours we would be paying for people to, the biggest thing they do is walk dogs, exercise dogs, clean cat kennels, and so forth. Woo. One of the things I want to bring to council's attention, I've talked to some city staff, I've talked to the mayor about this, is our legal cases, and we are going to be asking the city and the county for help with this. What happens is, I'm just going to go to this example here. This was an arrest done in Blair. 2 dogs were given a lot of pills, and both were in an urgent medical situation. The police did get a hold of us. They did the absolute right thing. They have to take them. You can't leave the animals there when they're suffering like that. And we had to rush them to an urgent care in Omaha. We had the animals for quite a while, and you can see the medical costs alone were $1,000 per dog. What happens then is those animals get put in limbo. They're not our possession. Some people say, why don't you just put it down if it's in bad shape? We can't. We don't own the animal. The animal is still owned by its owner, who is in some situations in jail, in other situations in mental facility, medical facility, whatever it may be. So we are stuck in limbo with this animal. What we do is we gather all the evidence, we collect pictures, vet testimonies, reports. We then get that over to the county attorney. This is where we could really use help from city and from county staff, because it's me who's taking this on. I'm a volunteer in this position. I'm constantly calling the county attorney, what are you doing? When are we going to trial? What is happening? In this instance, I believe the individual cannot have animals for 3 years, and they did not have to pay any of these costs. So then who pays those costs? That's falling on the shelter right now. This one, I had to, because of the amount of animals, had to put it and break it up a little bit. This is all one intake, one arrest situation. 55 cats, which many of which were pregnant, turned into over 80 cats within a couple weeks' time. That's a nightmare. This is the stuff NHS won't touch because it is in our area. So these all came into us. You can look at this, and I don't have my glasses on, so I can barely see. A lot of those were only with us for one day. The first half, the second half were with us 2 days, and the third half on that left side were only with us for 9 days. We transferred all of those cats. We begged and pleaded with every rescue, multiple states, you name it. Our volunteers were on the phone trying to get these animals out. The problem, well, 55 cats is its own problem, but you get over to that second page and there's 2 names at the bottom, 2 dogs. Those dogs came to us and they were left in legal limbo 227 and 256 days. We cannot euthanize the animal. One of those animals was aggressive. We could barely handle it. We cannot euthanize it. We cannot transfer it. We cannot do anything because we do not own it. We have to wait until a legal ruling is made, and this case took a extended period of time before they actually had the hearing. When they did have the hearing, she was not allowed to have animals. I don't know the amount of time on this one, but she was not ordered to pay for any of these costs. So this is a big problem for us. Again, if you look off on your sheet to the far right, it says medical costs. We had Thone here in Blair and Bennington Animal Hospital donated all of their time and resources for us. The amount of time it took to take pictures of each of these animals, document everything, give it the vaccinations required was a significant undertaking. And then at the end of the day, who's paying those costs? Those are falling on the shelter. We are asking the city and the county, we'd like to see some sort of a contract get in place, our contracts get updated, but legal cases is a big one where we would like to see paid staff, lawyers, whoever it may be, going and trying to get some of these costs reimbursed or doing something, because we're just kind of at a stuck place of what do we do, and it really significantly impacts the shelter. Some of our challenges I just wanted to bring up, this is the last thing and then we'll talk about some questions. Funding is a major challenge. You guys have heard me in front of you, for those of you who've been here, I think 3 years now we've been coming and speaking, maybe 4. We are significantly underfunded. A big part of that is 1, the county does not contribute, 2, the city did not increase any of the funding for about 6 or 7 years, and that's because prior to the current board of directors, the shelter was incredibly horribly run. Our shelter manager, well, first, our hourly staff. We have a significant problem right now with keeping staff because we can only afford part-time at minimum wage. Our shelter manager has no benefits. She makes just over $40,000 a year, and at that, she puts in probably 50 hours a week with no benefits, drives our personal vehicle for a lot of things. We have significant concern on burnout from her, but without being able to keep enough staff in place, we can't hire many full-time staff. You can't get qualified people at minimum wage payment in the animal industry. Our board of directors has shrunk. I'm telling you all of these things just to kind of let you know where the shelter is truly at. We lost one. We have one who's given notice that it's getting to be too much work. A lot of this type of stuff, we talk legal cases and funding and all of these things. It is a full-time job for some of us that and already have jobs. We talked about the legal cases. Our facility, we have problems with some ventilation going on. As many of you know, when we have cats, our cat room only holds, I think it has, Cheryl, keep me honest, maybe 10 spaces. We pack as many as we can in there, but our primary cat room has turned into a garage. There's not ventilation. We just had another respiratory virus go through, and when that happens, we have quite a few animals that do die because we cannot keep them separate. We have no separate ventilation, no isolation capabilities beyond the 2 isolation rooms. Community service needs are a big strain on the shelter as well. We love doing that. It does require additional staff, and we're just going to have to make a decision on what do we want with that. When we talk about community service, some of the groups like the ACN, the Autistic Center of Nebraska, I think if I have those letters right, here in Blair, they come down multiple times a week to give those adults an outing, a place to go. The National Honor Society, the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, community service people that have needs assigned from the court. All of those people come to the shelter as kind of a sense of their place where they want to go. But with that requires staff because we can't have people just walking in and opening a door on a dog that might eat them for dinner. So it definitely requires us to have extra staff. We have enjoyed seeing the shelter grow to the place it's at. I think it's really become an active thing in this community. But where we are today, the shelter for the first time since I've been involved and we turned things around, the first 6 months of the year is upside down by about $20,000. We have to imagine that's going to continue because of our volume through the end of the year, which will put us upside down $40,000. We can do that for 1 year, and then our savings will be depleted. So we have to make some pretty significant changes, and we have to decide what that's going to be. Another challenge we have that we're just going to keep working through with everyone, building maintenance and upkeep. The shelter does have additional things, and there is a maintenance budget for it. That budget has expired. Expired's the wrong word, ran out. And so we need to just have communication and figure out some of the projects that the staff is waiting on at the shelter were talked about starting in February, and they keep saying, when is it going to happen? And it kind of depends who we talk to on the answer we get. And then now the answer after they've been waiting for 6 months was the money's gone. And so they're kind of like, wait a minute, we thought this was already going to happen. So there's some frustration from some of the shelter staff that I just want to make sure everyone's aware of. Cheryl and I are here today. Cheryl, where are you? Wave your hand. Cheryl's in charge of the finances, so she's the most important person at the shelter. Just want to make sure everyone's aware of where we are and that as a group, I put up there city council, city staff, mayor, just have to make a decision. Where do we want this shelter to go? Do we want it to continue to grow? I always talk about it's a sense of place, the amount of children that do their birthday things and the youth groups and the events. I put some of those up here. I mean, we thoroughly enjoy all these things. We love that everybody comes out and does all the stuff at the shelter. Do we want to continue making it the place it is, or do we want to scale back? One of the two has to happen. We have to either get more funding or we have to scale it significantly back. I thought I was out of slides. I still have more pictures. Those are all the groups that come in and do work with us. I'm just going to answer the question because I know it's going to be the first one asked is, have we approached the county? The answer is yes. And the county is not even open to having the conversation at this time. So I did receive word back from them on that. I have sought guidance from some of the people at the city of what's the best way to go about that. And I have gone to our representatives in Blair that represent us on the county board stating you can't shut it down before you even go to a vote. It's not even getting to an agenda status at the county. So with that, that's out there. They're not willing to have a conversation. So we're going to have to make a decision, and our board of directors is having these conversations right now of, do we shut down taking county animals? There will be an absolute uproar if that happens. If that happens, we are also going to ask the city to make that statement, not the shelter, because animal people are crazy, certifiably nuts. And if you have a shelter say we're not taking your animals, they're going to be even more certifiably nuts. It's going to be better if we work together and come up with a statement of some form, but that's the place where we are at with the county. We have made that very clear to them. So if any of you have relationships or conversations and can push that along, that would be appreciated. As far as for the city, we did ask for a $20,000 increase. I think that gets us just a little over $100,000. If you go back, I showed you of our budget. I think with the city's percent of animals, if you just were to look at straight percent, it would be $162,000. The reason that is so far behind, like I said, for 6 or 7 years, we did not see any increases at all because of the shelter's fault. So, what questions do y'all have? I know there's some out there. Yes.
Have you gone to the individual communities, not so much the entity of the county, but gone to Fort Calhoun, gone to Kenner, gone to...
So, with some of those, let me go back because 2025 is only half. We have gone to Fort Calhoun. They have they're open to maybe giving some, but if we look at their percentages, they're probably $3,000 to $6,000. The other ones, the numbers are so little. What we'd like to do is we have contracts in place with, Brenda, you might know this, Kennard and Herman, I think, where we get so much per animal that comes in. I think for those smaller communities, that's the more appropriate answer, just because they don't have large volumes, so they're not going to go give us $20,000 to take 2 dogs a year. But yeah, so what my goal is right now, if I survive all of it, is a contract with each community, updating the contract with the city, and then getting a contract with the county in place, and then also figuring out the legal expenses. So that's what we're trying to get to. That could be a full-time job in itself to get all of that done.
The 55, excuse me, the 55 cats that you took in, were those indoor cats or were they outdoor cats?
Unfortunately, a lot of them were found in abandoned vehicles. There were many kittens found sopping wet in totes, and it was a really graphic, ugly situation. Of the 55, those are the ones that survived that were pulled out. And some of them were only like 8 months old, nursing and already pregnant again. It was a bad situation. Any questions you guys have on funding? I know I've talked to some people individually about some concerns with giving the requests we have. I mean, if it were up to me, I would say, do you want to give us $160,000 and meet that percentage? I don't know that that's going to happen, but we just really want to make it clear. I stood here a year ago and said, I think we have some financial concerns as minimum wage continues to increase, numbers continue to increase. The animal world as a whole is evolving, and that people just keep dumping their dogs. And we have to decide somebody has to pay for it. So as a city with the animals we have inside city limits, we have to get more funding. We have to continue. I mean, right now, I think the city gives 85,000-ish of the $300,000 of our budget. The rest is all done through fundraising. So if ever we have a time where our economy does not do very well and that fundraising drops, we will have a significant problem. So I'm trying to get us to a place where this is sustainable. We have cut everything we can out of the financials, and we're happy to give the financial report that we have over to anyone that does want to see it.
Does the county know it's an option that you or the shelter might not be taking their critters?
I sent an email Friday to the 3 representatives saying if any help you could give, and our next steps are to close the doors to all animals outside city limits or any other entity that we don't have a contract with. So it was a very... I think I write positively worded emails, but sometimes I'm told I don't. It was a positively worded email, very strongly worded email that shutting it down before we even let full council, I don't know all the rules, how they work, but it was shut down by the finance committee without going to the full county board of supervisors. And that's what happened in 2024 when we presented to them as well. So.
One of the things Jenny and I talked about recently is kind of had to be reminded that the city's had a long-standing agreement with the county. Think back probably 10, 15 years ago when we were at best a Motel 6 animal shelter. We basically took in the animals, kept them for a while. As soon as they exceeded their time limit, they were disposed of. But we had an agreement, at least with Washington County at that point in time, that if their sheriffs were out patrolling and the deputies picked up an animal and needed to bring it back in, we would be able to do that, and there was a certain fee that we would charge. Since we've had such great service from the shelter, I don't know that we've been pursuing any of that, and that's part of what we need to get back in sync with, is ultimately saying to the county, we've either got this agreement or it's expired, do you want to renew one? But if you choose not to renew and you choose not to offer support, we're going to tell you your animals can't come here. And so when somebody calls or a deputy shows up with an animal, sorry, too bad, take it someplace else. Those are the hard decisions, I think, ultimately we have to make.
And we have done that with other counties. So Dodge County went through this. They shut down their county-supported Humane Society, and they only have one shelter. It's Forever Homes Rescue in Fremont proper. And so everyone else in Dodge County, they call us and say, will you take our animals? We don't have a county one. We say no. We have sent letters out to Burt County, Dodge County, and all of the towns in them stating you cannot bring us your animals. And that has significantly stopped, especially the Tacoma requests.
To Phil's point, if we say no to Fort Calhoun or no to Arlington, what's to say they don't drive over at 10 o'clock at night and throw Fido out the window in Blair, and now it's somebody's problem in Blair, he'll get picked up.
That will happen, because right now Rachel will get a call, hey, can you take my German Shepherd? And she says, no, you're from Omaha. And the airport is a very popular dumping ground. That German Shepherd shows up. They don't even wait. They're not even discreet about it. 2 hours later, we have a call, hey, I have a German Shepherd out at the airport. And then now we have the dog. So if we shut it down to the county, what's going to happen? They're going to drive it into the city. Same thing that happens late at night. Someone will call or send us an emergency message and say, I have a dog out on County Road P26. Will you come get it? No, we're not sending our staff, most of which are 19-year-old young girls that work there and boys. We're not sending them out to pick up an animal. And so sometimes I know they drive into town and then they say, hey, I found this at Casey's, and then Blair PD takes it in. People are always going to skirt the system. We know that's out there. But we do get animals because we get a lot of calls from Omaha. NHS often closes their doors and we start getting calls from people wanting dogs. We say no. If you look at our numbers right now, if you look through 2025, we have 21% that are outside Washington County. I think it's important to remember what those are. Those are animals we take to make money. If someone has a doodle, I don't care where you got it from, we'll take it because we can sell it for $500. Either that or I end up with more of them. But
Is that public record?
this is real. This is real. Just took another one. And that one was from outside of the county. So that happens. You will always see some outside Washington County, and I want everyone to remember that. If somebody has cute puppies, give us your puppies. We can make money on them. We prefer not puppies because then they have to be spayed or neutered, but any type of dog that we know that is a high demand dog that we can adopt. A normal dog you adopt $225. A doodle you can adopt for $5. Give us your doodles and we'll adopt them.
Is
Not
the
me,
shelter
personally.
recipient of any funds from Washington County Gives?
Yes, so, and that's important to note too, if you want our financials and we give them to you. We have money that we get Washington County Gives, but it has to be for a special project. So for instance, Cargill this year gave us $25,000. That cannot go towards our operations. It has to be for a specific project. So we have a separate bank account opened up. And if you look at our financials, they're not up here, but through the first part of the year, it shows us positive money. But we have to deduct out those grants. A lot of those grants are specific for things. We try to get grants for training of animals, aggressive animals. We can get grants for medical specific care. So those we can use for operations, the medical care ones. But a lot of grants in the animal world are usually for specific projects. And then we have to give documentation showing that we used it for that project. Other questions?
Has getting food from Dollar General, the broken bags and stuff, helped lower your, which I would think it would have to, somewhat lower your costs?
It is the most interesting of things there is. It's a wonderful resource to have, yes. But there are times we might have 10,000 dog bones show up in one day. Or you name it, and they show up in mass quantities. So yes, we do not pay for any dog food. Now, if you look at our financials, Cheryl takes everything, every individual item that comes in our door is documented as an in-kind donation. So we track all of that. We have a dollar amount they do per dollar's worth so much. We don't pay for any food. We actually send dog food out at this point to 12 Hills, which is a rescue in Walt Hill? Yeah, in Walt Hill, because we can't keep up with the amount of food we get from Dollar General, which is great. We do, if we have special food, we have some animals, sensitive stomachs, GI diets, you name it. We put a post up on Facebook, and then all of a sudden our community is amazing. We'll have 20 bags show up. So we do not pay for any dog food, or cat litter. All of that gets donated or comes from Dollar General. Yeah, we get a lot of help from them. But you will see on our financials, it says Dollar General in, and then it says expenses for food going out. We also opened up 3 months ago a community food pantry. I think there's one this week. Is that right? Thursday, yeah, where we do a food pantry for any residents in Washington County. We get all over Facebook and advertise it, and then anybody, our goal with that is trying to keep animals in homes. So some people that might be down on their luck and may not have the funds to feed their animal, they know they can come to us. We also have some people that call us and say, I need to give up my animal, I can't afford to keep it. We talk through what the problem is. If it's truly just a feeding it, we have the food. We give them the food and they keep their animal with them in their home. That's our goal. So the food pantry is a new thing that got started. We're hoping to really get that up and going and get more food out to people who need it. And we work with the food pantry as well, taking what they have for animal food. Anything else?
Well, I have a suggestion, judicial committee, right? I would suggest
I'm easy to get a hold of during the day. Soccer takes over in the evening most nights, except for Wednesdays. All right, well, thank you all. We appreciate it. Let us know if you have questions.
Thanks, Jen.
Hang in there.
And we'll just table at the meeting and you won't know anything about it.
Item number 15, consider resolution 2025-79, approving civil service regulations for the Blair Police Department as recommended by the Civil Service Commission. Ms. Ferrari.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Before you tonight is an amended version of our civil service rules and regulations. Because we are a city of the first class, state statute does require us to have these rules on file. These rules really govern how we do our testing process, some of our promotion options, and then also how we can remove individuals if they're not meeting the standards required for their job. Today you'll see that we've added language to our promotions, adding managerial duties to promotions, amended how we start the process for applications. Previously, the city did use Morrow & Associates to do all of its testing. We no longer do that. And so old language still existed within these regulations that really was misleading for how we started the process of our testing. Now we will go out and we'll provide our own written test rather than having someone else do it for us. We've added the standard that allows us to eliminate applicants prior to getting to the Civil Service Commission, because at times you'll find that the backgrounds will come back and they do not meet the standard required by NLETC or the City of Blair, and so we want to eliminate them and eliminate that issue of added cost for testing or anything of that nature before they get further in the process. We've also added the ability to have an open lateral process, and that will allow us to do different testing and attempt to hire even outside of normal processes that would mean we're bringing in non-certified officers. We're also removing the detective position from the classified list of jobs, which will allow us to have better transferability for officers and new opportunities for hiring within our department and promotion to a job that is no longer going to be a promotion, but an assignment like our SRO or task force officer. We're also spreading the points between civil service and a police panel who will interview officer candidates and provide feedback before we do the hiring process. So it'll be a 35% split, 70%, 35-35 between police panel and our Civil Service Commission. And finally, we're adding 50 chief points to our background investigations. This is not an arbitrary deduction of points. I want to be very clear about that. At times, when individuals come to us and are looking to be hired, if we know that they have negative police contacts but have never been convicted, there's no way for us to prevent them from moving forward in the process. A lot of times in these situations, they're most likely domestic violence issues that have arisen, and we know that individual has had a negative contact, but because they were never convicted, we don't have a way to eliminate them from our process. The chief has the ability to assign these points to an individual of that nature and eliminate them from the process because they would not meet the standard 70% because it's 100 points that every individual starts with, and you deduct from there. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from the public? Mr. Green?
Hi, Mayor. One thing I just wanted to stress, because a lot of this comes off as administrative, and there are important, decisions to be made. But again, they're kind of more administrative, and you may just kind of allow us and the Civil Service Commission to kind of change these policies. One key significant one I asked Aaron to bring up, and Katie had mentioned it, is this change with the detective position. So I don't want you to miss what we're looking at doing here. And this is very common for a lot of other police departments, that the detective position is not a classified job, it's an assignment. And therefore, it's something that all of the patrol officers can aspire to potentially do someday. They can take some, training and kind of prepare themselves for the opportunity to maybe then be a detective for a while, serve in that role as assigned by the chief, and then ultimately return back to being a patrol officer. It enhances their skill set, makes them better officers, and it's one of those things that then kind of helps qualify them and get them ready potentially for a sergeant, enhancement or some other job potential down the road. But that's a significant change because right now, both in our civil service rules and from an HR perspective, it's a job that we advertise for and that we hire for. If you approve this tonight with the Civil Service Commission, and again, the Commission's given their blessing to this and moving forward with it, being an assignment as opposed to a position, expect that sometime in September, probably that second meeting in September, we will come back to you for an official removal of the detective position as an actual job. We have 2 good detectives right now. They will remain continuing to serve as detectives, but there'll be this transition then of them going from an assigned or a hired position that is now being eliminated by the council to an assigned position, and sometime down the road, they'll be giving up that assignment, return back to being patrol officer, maybe go through a promotion themselves, something like that, and then give other opportunities. So I just really wanted to stress to you tonight, because I don't want you to feel like, wow, they didn't really explain that very well, or didn't make it clear to us what we're going to do. And especially then, when you make tonight's decision, what will be coming in September when we do away with that position. Questions? Okay, and Chief, if I didn't answer that very well, please feel free to kind of fill in.
Hate to put the chief on the spot.
Yep.
Your thoughts?
Put me on the spot.
I hate to do that to you, chief.
You're not.
Your thoughts?
My thoughts on this. So just to give you a little background, when I first started here, I met with all the officers. I had one-on-one meetings. And one of the things that I learned rather quickly is we have a lot of really dedicated young officers that aspire to do great things in the police department. Some of the officers have aspirations to be detectives. With the detective position being designated as classified in the civil service rules, they can be in those positions forever. And unless their work performance or they do something that under the civil service rules can be removed, they'll stay in those positions forever. So I have no ability to create opportunity and growth for officers throughout the department. It's not something that I've really ever seen in other police departments, having that specific position being designated or classified under the civil rules as basically a guaranteed position. It creates opportunity for me to be able to have this reclassification essentially of the position. I have no intention to, and I spoke with the detectives. They were the first people that I talked to when I brought this up. But we're not, what I've learned is we're not losing officers or potentially losing officers to another agency because of money or benefits. It's because of lack of opportunity and growth. So to be able to create those positions in the future, we need this ability to be able to have it be an assigned position, because in most police agencies, it is an assigned position. It's not necessarily, you're not hired as a detective unless you go with the FBI or a federal agency where you're primarily an investigator. So I hope that kind of answered some of the.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do you think 2 detectives currently are enough, or do you think Blair needs 3 or 4?
Right now, we're okay. Right now, we're okay. I could see down the road, depending on how big Blair gets and how big the Blair Police Department gets, with increased numbers and call for service and maybe more serious crimes, maybe one day down the road we'd have to add a sergeant in charge of the detective unit. Because right now we have 3 investigative positions and they fall under me. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any comments from the public? Having none. Recommendation from the Police and Fire Committee.
We met on this, discussed with Chief Kinsey. It sounds like a win-win situation with everything, and talking about the detectives and just some of the examples of where some of this new stuff with the chief points and all that would come into play. So I would like to introduce Resolution 2025-79.
Councilmembers Paulson introduced Resolution 2025-79, approving civil service regulations for the Blair Police Department as recommended by the Civil Service Commission.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-79 as presented.
Did you hear the second?
Ken?
Yep.
Okay, so in favor?
Very loud.
We have a motion and a second
Yell it out.
to adopt resolution number 2025-79. Please register your vote.
All council members present voting aye.
Motion passes. Item number 16, consider resolution 2025-80, approving agreement with Morrow and Associates to conduct sergeant testing to fill the 4th sergeant position. Mr. Gould.
Good evening, council and mayor. Ben Gould, GUHL, HR manager. So tonight before you is a proposal from Morrow and Associates. Most of the council and mayor, you should remember that we've partnered with Morrow and Associates before to find this fine gentleman next to me, Chief Kinsey, when we did the police chief hiring process. So we are coming before you to ask, because of the excellent work Brittany and Morrow and Associates did with their 30-plus years of professional interviewing exam process, to do this for our sergeant, our fourth position of being a sergeant. So with this, I'm going to let Chief Kinsey kind of talk a little bit more about the actual center and exam processes, but I will just want to point out that what Morrow and Associates really do well, and we've seen this, and Chief Kinsey can attest to this because you've been on plenty of panels for Morrow and Associates testing other agencies around the metro. The Morrow office actually comes and meets with Chief Kinsey, looks at our Blair policies for the police department, and then crafts different questionnaires and scenarios based off of our policies. So it's not just a cookie cutter type of exam or scenario or whatever the metrics to use for interviewing these candidates. We're actually using our own policies. So we felt that was really a key part of moving forward with Morrow and Associates. This will be an internal posting only as well, so we're not expecting to post and see who else in the metro would like to be. We really feel, and Chief Kinsey can attest to this, some good internal candidates that we expect to apply. So I'll let him talk a little bit about the actual exam pieces.
So one of the common things you'll see in contemporary law enforcement agencies is an assessment center, is what it's called, and it's a combination of different phases of an exam process. So you might start off with an in-basket, and it's, instead of having like a pre-written canned written test that we use for our entry-level officers, this is more crafted personally for our agency, so we can use real-life scenarios that might happen in Blair to see how a sergeant would react. There might be some administrative functions that they might have to do, or it's staffing or discipline or something like that. So we craft that in an in-basket for written. They'll move on to a interview panel, and we'll have outside assessors come, law enforcement professionals, usually lieutenants or captains, some of them higher rank. They'll come and do an assessment for the interview panel. And then we'll work through some scenarios where we'll put them in a situation, put them in a scenario, and see how they react to maybe a use of force incident, a vehicle pursuit, or some high-risk type of incident, to see how they'll operate. And it gives us a good assessment of the candidates. We'll be able to show their strengths, their leadership capabilities, and that's what we're really looking for as leaders. We're developing leaders and developing our replacements. And so with that, to just finish it up, just wanted to again point everybody to the second page of the proposal, just the cost. So when we did the chief, it was about 18 to 20,000 that she proposed for us, or Morrow and Associates proposed for us. Obviously, that was the chief level, much higher, and much more national type search with a lot more candidate intake. This tonight is anywhere for a proposed cost of $9,500 to $12,000. And again, that includes the cost of travel, any other side expenses. So that's what is before you tonight. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Any comments from the public?
Thanks, Chief.
Having none, Police and Fire Committee again.
We did meet on this afternoon. We agree with this. It was a great process when we hired the chief we have now. Worked out really well. It's going to be a little more condensed because we have a lot of great internal candidates. So it also save us costs on that. So if there's not any questions, I'd like to introduce Resolution 2025-80.
Resolution number 2025-80 was introduced by Councilmember Highfield, approving an agreement with Morrow Associates to conduct sergeant testing to fill the fourth sergeant position.
I move we adopt resolution number 2025-80 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 2025-80. Please register your vote.
All council members present voting aye.
Motion passes. Item number 17, consider the purchase of a utility terrain vehicle for the Blair Police Department. Chief Kinsey.
Mayor, Council, again, Chief Kinsey. This one's really simple. Blair Police Department's been in need of for some time. They've had some previous budget requests in years past prior to my time for UTV for the police department. We were awarded a $10,000 donation from the Cargill Employees Foundation, I guess a couple years ago. It's been sitting in the bank, ready to be spent. I met with the county attorney, Scott Vanderschaff, here a couple months ago. We had a meeting. He reminded me that Blair Police Department has some money sitting in a stop account. So stop funds are what people pay the county for going through driver safety class. They get a ticket, they pay the $90, $100, I don't even know how much it is, but to take the class to get out of the ticket. So there's a fund, there's a caveat to being able to use that money. It has to be spent on something traffic related. Well, a UTV will be used for an enormous amount of traffic during gateway days, any type of big event. We have a weather event again. We can use that for putting out cones, getting around town. This is easy, doesn't cost us anything. It's all being donated. We have a vehicle that's on hold already with ATV Motorsports. It's about $19,000, and we're just asking for approval to purchase it.
Any other questions for Chief? Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments from the public? Having none? Police and fire.
Well, we talked about this tonight, and there's a big need for this thing to be used in all kinds of situations, so I think we should approve this thing for sure. So, now, he's gonna have to help me. What all was it?
60.
Seventeen.
So,
Yeah, it doesn't really have the scoop there.
I make a motion. Okay. I make a motion to approve the purchase of the utility trained vehicle for the Blair Police Department, amount of $22,000, which,
Up to.
up to,
22,000.
there we go.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the purchase of a UTV for the Blair Police Department. Please register your vote.
All council members present voting aye.
Motion passes. Item number 18, consider resolution 2025-81, approving an additional contract with Motorola for a cloud-based BWC car solution.
Mayor, Council, Chief
Yeah.
Kinsey.
Welcome back up, Chief.
Thank you. This might be a little confusing because you saw this months ago with the purchase of the body worn camera system. We bought this is prior to my time, we bought the body worn camera system with an on-premise server. One of the things with this purchase of the on-premise server, we didn't know it at the time. It basically disallowed about $40,000 worth of functionality of this rather than going to the cloud. There was an option to go to the cloud. The decision was made previous to me that they would go with an on-premise server. I was approached by Motorola at a conference about a week before I started here, and they said, hey, why didn't you guys go to the cloud? And I said, well, it wasn't my decision. Actually, Chief Logger walked by and I go, hey, ask that guy right there. By putting it on premise with the server, it allowed for about $40,000 worth of functionality of the software package, which is live streaming of our body cams, drone capabilities, a multitude of other things, software that we can use with the county attorney to deliver, to cut down on our man hours for our record staff to have to process evidence, to be able to basically occupy their computers for 2 or 3 hours while they're downloading a 2-hour DOI video. Pushing this to the cloud, let me back up. One of the things by keeping it on premise, we don't have any redundancy. We have no redundancy backup. If we get a corrupt file on that server, we might lose evidence. By pushing it to the cloud, we have unlimited data storage. We have multiple points of redundancy through Motorola and their server farms. What this does is, instead of the $160,000 purchase that we agreed to with Motorola, they're giving us a $40,000 credit on that software package if we go to the cloud. But in place of that, there's a yearly, essentially a contract fee. So we're moving off of that in-house server to go to yearly contract fee, which is about $23,000 a year. It's $25,000 for the first year. With the $40,000 credit, we're actually saving $15,000 in this first year with Motorola. But then as a budget consideration every year, we're gonna have to budget about $23,000 to keep it in there. I'll let Tom talk a little bit about some of the functionality and technical
I'll try not to get too technical. I might just reiterate a few of the things, kind of explaining what we have now. So we currently have 20 body cameras, 9 in-car systems, and 1 system for our interview room. These cameras were a huge upgrade from before. It's a really great platform. I love the video quality, and the reliability has been very great, but with that also comes what I call big data. It's just, it's a lot to manage and a lot to maintain, especially with evidence that we have to store indefinitely. These are stored in our room at the police department with a software called VMEX, and we currently generate 5 to 10 terabytes of new video per month on a regular basis, and that's before any of the data purging happens based on department retention policies. The original contract for Motorola for the systems, it was a capital investment, so that's all the hardware, was an upfront of $164,593.92. We deployed this in March. We have not yet paid the invoice for this. So some of the challenges, given our architecture, and having this on-prem, the chief kind of mentioned a few of these things, but really what we have now is just a very its core functionality is just being a body camera and a car camera. But what we're missing out on are a lot of integrations that Motorola really likes to push. It kind of brings all of their products that they offer and ties them together. So CAPE, that's for the drone, things like live streaming, AI transcription for easier investigations, just to save on man hours when dealing with this footage. These better cameras, like I mentioned, they generate more data. It's about 10 times the size from the previous system. So when Erica at the police department has to pull footage, it could tie up 2 hours of her time. And another big thing with this is our long-term needs. Yeah, we have a 5-year contract for this hardware with Motorola, but that's just the initial hardware. So I don't know what year 2 or 3 or 4 could bring if we remain managing the server on-prem. We could need more storage next year, and we just don't really know what those costs are based on the department growth and how much footage we have. Like with the storm, we generated an incredible amount of footage, and that's something that we have to maintain for a while just with all the calls to service. So those things can, it's kind of an unknown cost. So the solution is to move to an on-prem cloud-based solution. The only piece that we would be replacing is that server that we have on site. All of the hardware that we already bought, our body cameras and in-car cameras and potential future upgrades like our portable radios and things like that, all that stuff can continue to work with the cloud solution. We can fully utilize a lot of the integrations that we have, or that Motorola has, once our migration is complete. We can also migrate all of our existing footage to the cloud, so we no longer have to maintain that server. One of the nice things is with a solution like this is we have a fixed budget number that we can budget for every year and know what our costs will be, and continue to put different integrations in that as Motorola comes up with them. One of the things that Motorola is really good at is end-of-lifing products after you buy them. So one nice thing about this software as a service solution is that we're subscribing to a service, so they will continue to maintain that as long as we pay it. So it kind of gets us out of potential vendor lock-in or things going obsolete. So like I mentioned, the original contract was for the $164,000. Chief had mentioned it, but Motorola is going to give us a $40,000 credit on that when they invoice us. And so what we're asking is this additional contract be signed, which is $123,236 over 5 years. Our first year will be $25,966.58, and then years 2 through 5 will be that $23,567. So our first year with the cloud for 1 year will be a little less than like $15,000 cheaper than our original contract. So that original credit kind of takes some of the pain out of the first year. So, any questions?
When we had the power outage, the server went down as well until the generator came, so no body camera footage was being collected at that time?
That was until our city's own MacGyver, Tom
Because Tom brought his generator.
Tom brought his generator and got, or at least our portable radios, battery bank set up, and our server room hooked up to power.
So we have, the body cameras have a certain amount, they have about, I think they have a terabyte of internal storage, same with the car, so they'll cache to a point, we can record a lot, and then once everything's back online, they offload. So it will be the same here, we're just not having to maintain on-premise hardware. We get essentially unlimited storage, and what I see, what the biggest thing I like about this solution is it's going to free up a lot of man hours managing and processing evidence, which I think is, in the long run, we're going to be saving money because we have a fixed cost, and we know that, it's not going to take Erica 2 hours to pull footage.
Or Tom's time.
Right. And so the maintenance piece and it's kind of the trend for things like this that are a little bit more difficult to manage, so.
Is it unlimited storage?
It's unlimited storage. So, I mean, there is a, in the contract, it's written, it's for X number of body cameras, which, we have a lot of body cameras. So the biggest thing is if we start adding cruisers and things like that, that cost might be attributed a little bit higher to add additional seats, I guess, for that, but.
One thing that we didn't add is the data that we already have stored, so that however many terabytes that we already have, they will transfer that data
Upload that
to
to
the cloud. They'll upload to the cloud, as part of the package, so there's not gonna be a fee associated with that. They'll take it on.
No security concerns, moving it to the cloud? I know the slide said it would be securely, stored, but everything is. Until it's packed,
I mean, with anything, there's always a risk. I like to think, I would hope Motorola would be able to do a better job than I would with security. And I think that they use AWS government cloud, so it is like a known and trusted platform, and a lot of agencies use it. So I think from a security perspective, we are getting an upgrade as far as, constant software updates. They have engineers, they have a NOC that's always monitoring what's going on with their services, so, our.
And a redundancy backup,
right.
which we don't have on premise.
So,
Thanks, guys.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the public? Having none, Police and Fire Committee.
Yeah, we met on this, and, we were a little bit confused at the start because of all this Motorola stuff, but this makes a lot of sense. Let's take it off the hard drive and put it up in the cloud, and the guys can access it. And one thing you guys kind of talked about, but they can live stream, so if they get an emergency and heaven forbid, a police officer gets shot or something, it will start live streaming immediately to wherever they designated to go to, so right now we can't do that because we're not in the cloud, so that's one feature that we can't take advantage of with this program until we get in the cloud, so I think it's something we need to do. So there's no questions, I'd like to introduce resolution 2020, that's the same dang on one. It's, oh wait, I see it, 2025-81, typo.
Yep. Resolution number 2025-81 was introduced by Councilmember Highfeld, approving an additional contract with Motorola for a cloud-based EWC car solution.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 2025-81 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to adopt resolution number 2025-81. Please register your vote.
All council members present voting aye.
Motion passes. Item number 19. We're finally here. I know a lot of you people are here for this. Consider her a recommendation from the Park Recreation and Cemetery Advisory Board to allow for a change in the location for the Blair Dog Park. Mr. Heaton.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. As the Mayor just said, we're gonna talk about the dog park location. So after the last meeting, and we had lots of great feedback on the dog park going up at Black Elk. And I think Phil, we've kind of touched on this location 2 weeks ago. We took it to the park board again for their consideration and recommendation a week ago. And they unanimously agreed to, or recommended this location at Black Elk, which is just south of the in-ground water storage tank. I did just some really rough measuring. The fence should be about almost identical size. The pin should be about identical to what the plan at Steyer Park was to the plan on the, I guess, the lower part of Black Elk. We haven't gone out for any estimates from any fence companies or anything like that yet, but I did punch some numbers into basically an online construction calculator to give me at least something to go off of. So the Steyer Park location, the engineers were estimating $250,000 to $500,000. As you know, most of that was in concrete. The area around the Black Elk playground, I estimated about $30,500. The biggest cost of that is in fencing. And then this location, I'm estimating about $31,700. Again, the biggest cost for that is fencing. The concrete work our guys will do. Did talk to ARPS Ready Mix. They initially said they'd donate the concrete, and then in our conversations with them, it looks like they're willing to take about $25, $30 off a yard, which is still a great help. We will have a water line that we'll have to run, and I need to talk to Terry in the utilities department about how we do that, given that this is a water tower, if it's something we can tie in where the line comes off the tower, or if we need to come back here off the, just put a tap in off the side. And then the other thing we didn't account for, I guess, is electrical. The park closes, shortly after dark anyway. And then I just threw in some extras for like picnic tables and trash cans, things like that. So happy to answer any questions, but the park board did, like I said, unanimously recommended this spot. It's, I think it solves the issue of being close to houses, close to playgrounds. When we actually start moving forward with this, if this location's picked, we'll try to keep that fence about 15 feet, at least 15, 20 feet off that 10-foot sidewalk that goes around. I think I might have one more picture. Let me go back. So this picture I'm going to show you, if you've been up here, there's a swinging bench right along the trail here. And it kind of is the center of that whole loop. So my thought was to come close to this bench with a sidewalk just going up top of this hill, and that's where we'd put the sally port. So you'd have a place to go in there, shut a gate, take your dog into whichever pen you wanted to go into. And that way hopefully no other dogs are sneaking out while you're coming in. We'd probably put a yard hydrant somewhere in this area. But very minimal concrete work. It's stuff that our guys would do in-house. So, any questions?
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Do you have any comments from the public? Or the park board? No? Okay. How would council like to proceed?
I'll make a motion to approve relocating the dog park to the upper location of Black Elk Nighthawk Park as recommended by the Park, Recreation, and Cemetery Board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve relocating the dog park to the upper location at Black Elk Nighthawk Park. Please register your vote.
All council members present voting aye.
Motion passes. Item number 20, consider recommendation from the Park, Recreation, and Cemetery Board to install a half-court basketball court and hoop at Ridgeview Park. Mr. Heaton.
So riveting conversation.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging in there, folks.
Aaron, I think there's a slide. There should be one there. I'll let you guys stand.
You're welcome.
Good night.
I think it's gonna work really well.
Good night.
Ready? All right.
Ready.
Thank you. So yeah, just earlier this summer, the mayor reached out to me that she was approached by a donor that wanted to see about installing a basketball hoop. Originally, I believe the request was to install it in the cul-de-sac, which all good, but it gets in the way of our street sweeper and snow plows and, you know, kids driving, all sorts of fun things. So the mayor and I discussed it, kind of talked about a way to put it in somewhere in the park. So this is Ridgeview Park up on the north end of town, 14th Street. Years ago, I believe, people have been around here longer than I have, this used to be a dump, I believe, at one point. What's that? So, I know in my years in the Parks Department, when we've gone to plant trees or put in a post for something, we end up digging up all sorts of random things when we get about 2 or 3 feet down. So this park is, there's not a lot up here if you've been up there. It's pretty open. You get a good view of the river bottom. So what we proposed to the park board a week ago, which they all unanimously approved, was to install basically a half-court basketball court over in this, I guess, west section of the park. It's kind of tucked in around behind this last house. We'd put the hoop towards this west end, probably a 30 by 30 pad that our guys would put in. We actually have the hoop in our possession. It is a recreation park, grade hoop. It's not something you'd go to Walmart and pick up. It's pretty heavy duty. And again, our guys will be able to dig the footings and get that put in. And then we tie this together just with the sidewalk connecting to our current sidewalk there. I'm guessing the concrete would be $2,000 at the most. We can ask. Can't always ask, yeah. I was joking with Phil that I'm an Iowa fan, so the Caitlin Clark spot is way over here. So. Anyway.
No fence around it, I assume, correct? Just
No, we're not planning on any fence. Just 4-inch pad, probably right on, do a minimal amount of leveling.
Put some lights there so you shine on Rick's house.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about it.
Big strobes.
Does the lady at 1095, has she been notified of this possible basketball court going in?
I have not reached out to her myself, so I don't know if anybody else had.
I tried to talk to her today, but she wasn't home.
Okay.
And I've heard from neighbors that aren't too pleased about it.
Sure. Yeah, to answer that, right now the city, as far as any of our parks, we do not have a public basketball court, any hoops. I know it was talked about with Generations Park, and I guess, not say pulled out, but held back for now in favor of more pickleball courts. Trying to think, the closest basketball hoop to this neighborhood would probably be at the high school. North School.
There's 2 hoops there.
But as far as city parks, we don't have any that we offer or maintain in any public parks right now.
There's 15 hoops in Blair. I drove around Blair today. Look, South School has 1, YMCA has 2, completely fenced in. It's open to the public. You can go down there anytime of the day. The high school has 2. Arbor Park has 4. Nobody out there playing on them. Deerfield has 4. Nobody out there playing on them. So we have 15 basketball hoops that I counted, maybe more that I'm not aware of. But I guess I look at this as something that isn't really necessary. Just because somebody said they'd buy a hoop, that money could be given to the animal shelter, that money could be given to other things needing money with budgets and stuff, trying to keep things in line. I just feel that it's an unnecessary expenditure.
Not only that, without there being any fencing, that's a pretty steep drop off just to the north of that box. And I can see balls bouncing and rolling down that hill, and someone's gonna have a collection of basketballs in a few months. It's not very visible or accessible from the street, so unless it's advertised or something, I can see this being a very unutilized addition. That doesn't seem to have had a large demand for it. I haven't heard a lot of people saying that, hey, this town needs a, I've heard them say that we need a lot of other stuff. I haven't heard a lot of people saying, we need a half-court basketball.
Does the donor live in this neighborhood?
I believe they do, and I don't know if the mayor wanted to
They do.
speak about the donor. I know you have, understand what their wants, I guess,
Sure,
were a little
yeah.
bit. And
Their actual driveway won't allow for them to have a basketball hoop in their driveway. They can't play. So they wanted to donate to have a basketball court closer. And there are basketball hoops right now in cul-de-sacs in Blair. I'm not going to name names or point anybody out, but they're already there. And they were trying to find a way to make it so that everybody could utilize a basketball hoop. And there are no basketball hoops on any city property. There might be public basketball courts, but there are no city-owned basketball courts in the city of Blair. At all. So, I'm in favor of it. I think it would be, it's an underutilized portion of a park that really, as CJ was saying, we really can't put a whole lot there because there's a lot of junk 3 feet under, so.
correct. And the reason we kind of tucked it back in out of the way, because I know there were concerns from other neighbors as we started kind of feeling this out, that there's a lot of people that like that open view of the river bottom. So that was the intent of not trying to hide it, but put it up there, but kind of tuck it out of the way also.
And it did go to the park board and they unanimously approved it.
Correct.
And they are advisory to us. Not that we have to do exactly what they say, but they asked questions and they discussed it as well. Do you have any questions for Mr. Eaton?
Do you want to have a chance to talk to all the neighbors?
No.
Are you thinking about tabling it?
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. If you want to table it, you can go talk to your neighbors and see what they say.
I've had neighbors contact me about it. They had heard about it before I had. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. They said, yeah, they're gonna put a basketball court in the park, which a lot of people come down in the mornings, it's nice and quiet, the morning fog over the bottom.
I had neighbors contact me as well, and their main concern, it wasn't noise, it was upkeep. They just wanted to make sure that it was maintained.
Yeah, and
So.
the upkeep is a big issue because right now you can't even read the sign to Ridgeview Park. The bush in front of the sign is higher than the sign, so. And I know how that park bench up there needs to be fixed. It's not fixed yet. A lot of things, I don't know, just doesn't thrill me. That's just my point of view.
Any other questions for Mr. Heaton? Thank you.
Thanks.
Any comments from the public?
Christy Rounds, 1334 Prospect. I just want to make a few comments. I am on the Parks Board, and we did discuss a lot about this. And if the people in your neighborhood are so concerned about it, why aren't they here now? Why didn't they come to the Parks Board Committee and discuss it? I just, they have their opportunity to speak. So, anyway, that's all I said.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Having none, how would council like to proceed?
Motion to approve the recommendation from the Park, Rec, and Cemetery Board to install a half-court basketball court and hoop at Ridgeview Park.
Do we have a second? No second. So does that mean motion dies? Motion dies. Item 21, consider approval of the preliminary budget for fiscal year 2025 and 26 and authorize the publication of the budget hearing on September 9th, 2025. Mr. Green.
And this is when I advise everyone to run away. So we are going to be talking about the budget tonight. I will remind the council that when we did the budget workshop, it took 4 hours to go through all of this. It will not take 4 hours tonight, but there are several significant things that I need you to decide tonight. And ultimately what this is in the plan of laying out the budget, this is the presentation officially of the preliminary budget. Official budget will be approved on September 9th. So we have between now and September 9th to make the final decisions, but the challenge is it's more difficult on September 9th to make changes at the last minute than it is tonight. And so we're going to take time to go over some key issues that I really need answers for tonight. So I'm going to treat you in many ways like a committee of the whole. It's time to make some decisions. Frankly, in the many years that I've been around Blair, there haven't been that many opportunities for the council to say, okay, what do you really want to do precisely on this item? And then what do you want to do on this item? But I need some of that information tonight from you to know exactly what direction you want to go in. Otherwise, I'm just going to proceed with the way that it's being presented to you, which is fine with me because I've spent a lot of time putting all of this together. We could just proceed with the way it is and then leave the burden to you to actually bring it up in the meeting either tonight or again on the 9th. But if we wait until the 9th and then you feel like this is my last chance, I've got to bring some of these things up, it's going to be an awkward, hard time to do it because of all the other official documentation that we have to have ready for that night. So that kind of lays out the plan on what we're going to be looking at. And full warning to the audience, this could take a while to go through this item. So I won't be offended at all if anybody, except for staff, gets up and leaves. Three key things that I need your guidance on tonight. And Aaron, if you want to bring up version 1 and 2 documents there. 3 key things to talk about tonight. One is what level of property tax request do you want to proceed with? Okay, how much money from the property tax request perspective do you want to ask for? There were changes at the legislature that are implemented this fiscal year that are new and unique, and they focus on the governor's determination to try to minimize property taxes as much as possible. So we want to talk about what some of those options are. Number 2 item is on the staffing situation. What positions are you interested in pursuing or not pursuing? And we need some guidance and direction on that tonight. And then finally, number 3, just the specific detailed questions about the actual dollar items. So version 1, why don't you flip over to version 1 first, Aaron. Yep, that's it. And so thank you for zooming in. The number that you should be paying most attention to, and I'll show on both sides, is this total number here that's about halfway down the page, okay? Because that ends up being for fiscal year 26, the combined amount of property taxes being levied. And what the state implemented this year is that the maximum amount legally that you could request in property tax is this growth number that they determine through the real fancy formula that they use, and they publish that. We knew that even before the workshop, so that's 5.17%. That number plus whatever real growth ultimately you have in your jurisdiction. And we don't know that number until the county assessor tells us, what that number is. I had estimated, I think, 1.3 or something like that when we had our budget workshop, which is historically super low. And it came in at 0.92. So it came in even under what I had anticipated, and the total value came in less than what I had anticipated. So you've got 2 opportunities now with this number. One is what is legally allowed if you aren't going to take some exceptions. And I mentioned a little bit in the budget workshop on exceptions. We're not going to talk a lot about it tonight, but there is the opportunity to take public works exceptions, bond exceptions, several other kinds of exceptions that we could take. But I described that as riding the back of the tiger, because once you do that, you're going to have to take those same dollars back off of your growth possibility for the following year but then you can put it right back on if it's going to be a long-term thing. So I'm not prepared to ever recommend doing one of those exceptions until we know for sure we have to from that point on into the future. And probably, maybe not forever, because we don't know what forever is, it's a long time, but at least in the foreseeable future, unless there would be some substantial property valuation. But we're not doing any of that. There's no exceptions in this budget right now. We're living off of just the growth, as minimal as it was, that we've got. And the two opportunities are the maximum allowed legally, which again is 6.09% total compared to last year's asking, or there's also the county-wide postcard rule, which is a different number, and if you go over that dollar amount, you have to appear at that joint hearing. You have to prepare documentation that you have to send ahead of time to, I think it's the county clerk's office, and they have to get all this packet ready to have this official meeting before the citizens. And it's open to anybody at the county. It's planned for up at Blair Library and on September 18th, is that, I think? Something like that? Yeah, so, but historically, we've never had to go to that meeting. And I wondered if we were going to have to. I actually thought, I think I mentioned at the workshop, we probably are going to have to go to that meeting. But this one represents the dollar amount here, this $3,158,601.30. That gets us at the limit that we would not have to go to that postcard. And I mean, it's like $2 under the dollar amount that we would have to do if we were going to have to go to that postcard meeting. But that represents only a 2.92% increase at a time of inflation, at a time of everyone moving up on the pay scale. We've got a union contract that we're negotiating. All of those additional costs severely limited when it comes to property taxes. Aaron, flip over to version 2 if you would real quick. And again, this is in your packet. Version 2 is the one that is, again, the legally allowed limit without the exceptions, but we would have to go to the postcard meeting, which is this $3,255,812.60. The difference between those is only about $109,000 though, which compared to everything else that we're doing in the budget is a number that I felt like we could deal with. So what I prepared for you as my proposal for you is to stick with the lower number but transfer an additional $100,000 out of sales tax into the general fund to make up for that reduction in property tax. Now, we bring in, combined between regular sales tax, auto sales tax, interest, a few other things, roughly about $4 million in sales tax. We, in this budget, would be transferring $3,100,000 of that sales tax into the general fund in order to keep property taxes low. Our citizens need to realize how much of our sales tax goes to keep their property taxes low. In fact, that 2.92, and again, Aaron, if you want to flip back real quick to version 1 and we'll stay there. On that version 1, I want to show you a number that I think is going to be significant and people should pay attention to. It's the bottom of the page. So as you zoom back out a little bit, this very low number, number 1, going from the left-hand side all the way to the right, shows you what the total value is for the municipality. Our total value only went up 3.66% this year. The next 3 columns show the breakdown of the levy amount that gets us to that $3,158,601.30. request to the citizens to increase the sales tax here in town up to that 2%. Now, again, that additional half-cent sales tax can only go towards certain special projects. We'll still have to identify what those are. They could be for road construction or for other improvement type things. But that would be one of the reasons why he would be telling the constituents here in town, we need that additional half-cent sales tax, which, by the way, not just comes from you, but comes from everyone who shops in Blair. And we know lots of people come into town to shop. Or do you want us to go back to having your property tax pay for all of it? That's the choice. You want your property tax to pay for it, or do you want to have sales tax help, but we need the additional sales tax if we're going to get any projects done. But that's for next spring. The question is tonight, what do you want to do?
Bill, who is this we that has to attend this meeting?
Yeah, the joint meeting, I have to go as the administrator to help present, and one council member, and I don't know if the mayor gets to select or what, but one council member has to go, because they have to have one elected official. And all you're required to do is be there and explain why you're asking for what you're asking. And in fact, it's so late in the process, you really don't have time to change anything. So I describe it not as a decision-making meeting, it's an accountability meeting. You're being held accountable by the citizens for saying, sorry, we went above this magic limit, which again, when they made this postcard rule, instead of the legally required minimum right or maximum right now, which is that inflation rate plus your real growth, they just arbitrarily set the law as 2% plus real growth. Well, we have real growth of only 0.9% this year, which is why the number ends up being 2.92%. That's the limit that we can grow by to avoid that meeting. Which I did not think was even going to be possible, but it was, with, again, another $100,000 in transfer, and the other changes that we're going to make tonight, comment about tonight too, which is some, not pursuing certain staff positions and cutting back on a few other issues.
Well, to start the conversation, I would say I would prefer not to go to the meeting with the anticipation of them asking for the sales tax increase so we can property taxes. Yeah, that's fine.
I agree with that.
Sure, with version 1.
Version 1.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right. Any strong advocates for version 2? Good. That's easy to handle. All right. Option number 2, or item number 2 that we need to discuss tonight is employment. So bring up the org chart if you would, Aaron. Number 1 there. Yeah. So again, this is the same chart that we had shown you earlier. If you recall, during the budget workshop, we had talked about kind of recommending to you at that point in time the fiscal year 26 positions, which were all the various blue ones that were noted there. But with valuations being as low as they are, with anticipating that you're going to want to go with that version 1 of all of this, we just don't have the funds to do all of the ones that were in the blue. So obviously several of the items on the page were marked with red as kind of a open and in future, and all of those obviously we're not considering. So I blued those out with a blue streak on here, but there are some of the other positions that we had talked about for this year, such as a parks gardener position that would help maintain a lot of the flower beds and garden areas around town, which I think is a critical need for us. Somebody with a skill set to be able to do that kind of work, really improve things, keep an eye on that work that needs to be done, because it's really easy to get concentrated on one area of a park, or we have a disaster like we do now, and there's major cleanup and things that have to happen, and now all of a sudden we don't have that position, but we can't afford it. That one's eliminated. I also eliminated the IT assistant GIS technician position, not because we don't need it. I would argue that we could use all of these positions, but we just don't have the resources to be able to do that. I've told Tom that we'll try to include it as soon as we can, and that as he's doing on all the little special projects that he's trying to be working on right now, security cameras, other issues, that if he needs to hire some outside help to pull cabling or to do certain configurations, then we'd be willing to look at that on a case-by-case basis, but just can't afford the full-time position and all the benefits that would go along with that debt. Again, some of the other future ones, like a city engineer position, a maintenance technician position, all good ideas, but just things that we couldn't really do. Another one that kind of saddens me is on the police force side. I think we have been low in our numbers for a long time. We have a challenge just to keep the authorized positions full, which we haven't been able to do. Hopefully, over the next few months, we'll be able to do that. But right now, we're working on positions 19 and 20. There was a request for 4 more positions, which would be sworn officers 21, 22, 23, and 24. I think I said even in the workshop that we weren't going to do 23 and 24 this year. We would try for the 2, but what I set up here for the 2 is ended up having to cut that budget, which comes out of the general fund again, in half by saying we're not even going to hire them until March of 26. So we'll wait half the year and then we'll start the hiring process. At least for this year, it saves us half. But keep in mind, they're going to want full salary the year after. And so the day's going to come when we're going to have that money to make up. So again, growth is important, growth is critical for us to continue to move forward. But that was an unfortunate change that we needed to do. The other positions, and I know there's been some question on that then, were my recommendations on the senior leadership and hiring another deputy position and then rebranding both our assistant administrator and director of public works as deputies. I sent out a fairly long email to you kind of explaining some of my reasoning on why I feel that's important. All I can do is stand here and say from an administrative standpoint, from a management standpoint, I feel like it's important, I feel like it's necessary if, especially, you want me doing the things that I don't have time to do right now. We do need to grow as a community. It's been a year since the Housing Advisory Committee had made their recommendations, and it's been a year that hasn't borne the fruit that I really want to be able to see. I'm super excited about Blair Crossing and the development that's going to go on there. I think that's going to potentially begin to lead to other things, but now's the time not to sit back and wait and see what happens. Now, to me, is the time to push forward, to press forward. And we need more land developers, and we need more home developers in the city of Blair. It's just not happening in an easy way. Part of that is because of the land development cost scenario, and we ultimately need to come up with an idea on how can a smaller community like Blair, where it's critical that you be part of the community and therefore in the city limits, how can we fund those in a way that doesn't put undue burden on the citizens? Because right now the assessment process just seems to put too much of a burden on the developer and their financial responsibility, where a model like the SIDs that they do in Douglas and Sarpy County isolates the developer from much of that cost, and therefore is much more enticing. And there's more than enough work for them to be doing down there. Why would they want to come to Washington County? Why would they want to come to Blair? So we've got to figure out some other way that is enticing to them. And whether the current state laws allow us to do something unique that we haven't ever tried before, but legally could, or whether we need to suggest some changes to Senator Hansen and try to work with him and the League of Nebraska Municipalities and see if we can get some statutory changes. All of that needs to be done, but that takes a lot of time. And I'm the one to have to do all those things. And so to me, these other deputy positions will help with that, and it will also alleviate just the, I think, is unrealistic expectation that Aaron can lead and guide and provide the kind of oversight to 11 different departments or divisions like he's got right now. CJ is doing a fantastic job in Public Works. He's got a great team to work with. It's a team that we've developed, over the last several years. So Mark Kotzen and Tony Larimore are there to help him out to oversee projects and other things that need to be done. But the poor guy's barely keeping his nose above water as well, with all of the work and all the activity that goes on. And he's got 5 divisions that he's responsible for. Aaron's got 11 or 12, depending on how you count them all. It's just, to me, unrealistic for that work to be done. But you got to decide, because there's a cost involved, and there's lots of needs around town. And we got public safety needs. We saw that heightened because of the storm. We have generator backup issues at multiple buildings that we need to kind of think through and work through. I think we can move forward this next year on that. But the question is, where do you want to devote some of those funds? So, thoughts on open positions?
I have a handful. So let's talk about the police first. If we hire them, chief, we hire them in March, new folks. When would they go to academy?
If we hire them in March, the first academy for them to be able to attend would be May of next year. If we have them authorized in October, we'd be hiring them about December to send them to mid-December to send them to the January academy.
So they have May and January.
Yeah, about every 4 months.
Oh, so they have.
About every 4 months at the state academy, yeah.
Now, there are some potential changes that have been bantered around, talked about. The different departments that are all kind of in the Omaha metro area have talked about trying to pool together their resources and do some training here. We might be able to participate in something like that, which would make it more potentially happen quicker, something like that. Another issue to talk a little bit about, explain to them a little bit. Before they actually go to the academy, is there any field training that they're able to do?
Yeah, so
or any
you saw this with Paige Aaron that's going to the academy here in a couple weeks. She was hired at the same time I was. We all got sworn in. Myself, Officer Radke, and recruit Arn got sworn at the same time. Well, she was hired back at the end of April, 1st of May. With me, she operates as an NCO. It's a status where she's really not in full training. She's not getting the full experience. So she's essentially a glorified ride-along. She's gaining a lot of experience, seeing things, but when she goes to the academy, when she comes back, she's gonna have to go through a full field training to be able. She'll be certified, but she needs to pass field training to be out on the street by herself. Solo, we call it solo capable ready. So getting back to your question about the March start, that puts us out till May. So they would go through the academy, graduate sometime around August. They start field training. They wouldn't be solo capable officers until probably the end of next year, on their own, out on the street. So I said it before, it takes a year to grow a cop.
Chief, it seems to me that there's a pattern or tradition of hiring in pairs. Is there a reason for that?
I don't know the reason.
Okay.
I can tell you, I dug up an old org chart from the Blair PD from 2014. We have the same number of officers we do today as we had in 2014. And we know things have changed in the last 11 years. And we foresee them changing a lot. So I'm advocating for myself and the police department. I'm certainly not going against my boss here. Understand that.
I told you this was a good, healthy debate.
It's a good, healthy debate.
And certainly I understand that. I am so supportive of law enforcement. However, in this circumstance, could it maybe make sense to definitely hire one and push one out to 27?
Well, let me tell you, today, Officer Wattenbach was the only officer working on Blair streets today. About 9 o'clock this morning, 10 o'clock this morning, he and Detective Cook went on a death call. That tied them up for hours. So your primary responding officers, and Councilman Willis saw this because he happened to bump into us, goes, "What are you doing here?" Captain Lyons and myself were handling calls for the city. We shouldn't be your primary officers taking calls. We absolutely shouldn't, because we have mandated state firearms training today where the rest of the department was at. We had to do those things. It's not safe for the community. It's not beneficial to us as an organization to have that. To have Captain, that would be like having Aaron and Phil, going out and doing building inspections or checking a fire hydrant.
Right.
That's what it's equated to. So
I understand, but you're getting 2 additional bodies already.
So if you had authorization as of October, we can start right now, how quickly do you think they could make the academy? Is there one in December, is that?
There's one in January. So the academy class, so the process that we're going through right now with and Ben might speak to a little bit, we currently have a eligibility list right now. So we have, next month, we have testing. Ben just had the written tests with yesterday. 3 candidates. We have 1 lateral in the hopper. So we have those positions that are 25 budget that were open that were never filled up until the point I got here and started pushing to fill the sergeant position. When you fill a sergeant position, you need to backfill that officer position because it does you no good to just promote a sergeant and then not have that officer. So, and then the open position, which we could fill almost immediately with the lateral that we have, I guess, like, but we're in the hopper. You approved the civil service rule change tonight. 2 more officers. So the 3 candidates that we have right now going through the process, their backgrounds, their physical tests, their written tests, civil service interviews, police panel interviews, we're targeting for end of October-ish to be done. Those people would be able to be appointed. My recommendation to the mayor to appoint 2 officers. They could be in the academy in January. But that would be 21 and 22.
And if I could say too, we have a lot of, within the Civil Service Act of the state, they require a lot of deadlines and pretty much steps to make sure that the process is fair and equitable. So when we talk about the academy, well, the academy needs at least, the packet, or all the psyche evals, the medical examinations, all the testing, all done by the civil service, appointed all within like a month before the
45 days
academy.
before the
Yeah,
academy
before the academy starts. So that's really our starting point, that we have to start looking at, okay, how do we get an eligibility list to the mayor? Well, then we gotta go back a couple more weeks with offering all the testing, the background checks, takes another.
Conditional offers.
Yeah, conditional offers, right, all that. So it's just, I think no longer are the days that we're gonna be fully staffed for, a whole year or 2 years. We're gonna be constantly trying to churn, hopefully not. But if we continue to add positions, thankfully having that lateral option now in our civil service, hopefully we can find a lot of good candidates that route that is kind of shortens that process.
But even with.
Doesn't really answer your 2.
No, it does.
No, I'm
Your
saying,
mayor's
because even with
question.
lateral, you're still opening up a position. What I'm saying is, ultimately, you're gonna have 2 more, because there's 2 green ones on here that are budgeted for, that you're in the process of filling, so you're gonna have 19 and 20. And I'm saying, well, how about you get 21, but maybe not 22, so you're gonna have 3 more bodies than you currently have. One way or the other, you've got 3 more bodies than you currently have.
Right.
And 21 right away as opposed to 2 halves halfway through.
There's a comment. I respectfully disagree. It's hard to understand, unless you're in that position, that you're facing a traumatic event, a situation that, with respect to everybody here, you've never been in as a law enforcement officer. You need, our public safety is imperative to the city. And to have one officer out there is, what we're doing is putting that person in such a perilous position each and every day. I mean, they're that way anyway, but they need somebody there to help them, okay? The city calls the county, the county comes in and helps, right? So absolutely needs to be done, because it just doesn't make sense to have one officer respond and the chief and captain go out all the time.
And I agree, Kevin, but wouldn't the 2 and possibly 3rd bodies alleviate that situation?
One of the positions is a sergeant, so that's filling a we have 4 patrol shifts. We have 3 sergeants. So that's filling a much-needed supervisor position on a shift. You're backfilling that position because you're promoting from the officer rank, so you're backfilling that position. So you're kind of getting 2 in 1, but you're filling a sergeant's position that is in our current budget, the current budget we're in before October. So that was approved last year for 19 and 20.
Right.
And I've asked for, originally in the budget was 4 officers, so that I would have a sergeant and 3 officers on each shift. You're never going to have, it's rare that you're going to find a full shift all the time. You're always going to have somebody either on vacation, at department training. We have, as a reminder, in addition to everything that we do, we have state mandated training. We have 32 hours that we're required by state, under state law, that we have to get. Our firearms training doesn't count. So towards that 32 hours, we have to shoot twice a year. We have to have driver's training. We have to have mental health training. We have to have anti-bias training. We have to have all this list of trainings that we're required by state to have. So that's keeping officers off the street, because we got to go somewhere to train or spend a day training, just like they were today at the range. Half the department was down at the range doing our mandated state training, which left 1 officer working, because Sergeant McMahon was a sergeant on today's shift. He's also a firearms instructor, so he's got to be there to do that. So by getting the other 2 officers, the additional 2 officers, that's putting 1 more officer on one shift and another officer on another shift that only have 2 officers there. So it's just getting them to,
Chief, let me ask you, an officer typically works a 40-hour work week?
yes. Well, they work 12-hour shifts, so they work a long week and a short week.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I mean, are
80
you?
hours, 80-hour pay period. It's easy
Okay.
to understand that.
And, I mean, with keeping that in mind, are you able to staff, I mean, what is required to have available and on duty with just everybody working 80-hour pay periods, or are they having to go beyond? Because we are short.
We're covering it with overtime.
Right.
They're covering shifts with, and the day of the storm, Chief Kinsey was working in the patrol district that day.
Right,
So-
and, and I have, not to lean into social media too much, but you hear and you see public, crunching numbers, doing math, saying, well, that's, only one officer per like 400,
Yeah.
citizens in Blair. That's way too many. That's ridiculous. They need to remember, those officers are not all on duty at the same time.
They're not all on duty at the same time.
And it's not 40-hour work weeks, it's not a 9 to 5, it is
Correct.
24/7. And I think some of the public forget that while you're sleeping at 2 o'clock a.m., we need to have coverage in our community. And I think they're kind of forgetting that. And it just makes me very uncomfortable to think that we have one officer on duty at a time. And we do need to fill these positions.
And real quick, just to jump on that, if you have one officer on and that officer gets tied on in domestic, you have no other officers around. It's just anything else, any other emergency that may arise.
Right.
And it is an uncomfortable.
Captain Lyon today, perfect example. Captain Lyon and I responded to a suicide alert. Today there was a gentleman that was reported to be walking around the train track. We had contact with him at the floral shop over on Washington. Walked up to him and said, this is Captain Lyon and I. Before Officer Longlock was able to get there because he was tied up on a death knell. And the guy said, I want to kill myself. And so Captain Lyon had to take him to a manual hospital. We had to take him into emergency protective custody. So now that left Chief Kinsey, because we're the only cop working today. I can handle it. When do you want to text a ranger, right? But it's not ideal. It's not safe. It's Councilman Wilson's point. Who's been there and done the job. There are calls. It is rare. You staff the officers for the worst case scenario. I mean, the other thing which I didn't mention is by not having these officers, you'll see our proactive and our ability to get out and engage the communities is hindered as a police department, which is not good for our organization. It's not good for our community because our officers are just going from call. If there's one officer working, he's going from call to call to call to call. He's not out able to make traffic stops and help reduce crashes. He's not able to stop by a park, shoot hoops with the kids. We're not able to do those things that as a progressive law enforcement agency are able to do because we're just tied to the radio, we're tied to the calls, and we're tied together with a lot of other administrative things that the cops have to do. So it's kind of tough.
Okay. We take a 5 break.
Sure. You may. I will. Yes, 5 minutes, 10:05.
Oh, okay, you got a whole break for everybody.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I feel bad.
cutting back on the fire department, which we haven't even gotten into yet. And that's a safety thing as well.
Just as easy to let it die that way.
Yeah. I'm just saying, well, isn't it easier just to take that out?
I don't know. Yeah.
It's 10:06. I'm banging that thing a lot tonight, aren't I? Yeah. All right.
Okay, so that's the police department. We thank you. There's a lot of good input on that. I would like to talk about, I can never understand where you at. Gee, Christmas. What's that say?
Which one?
Yeah, you're
So we got, if we followed this model, we would take the assistant administrator, and just because of his experience and knowledge, my recommendation was deputy administrator for public safety. And he would then oversee some of those public safety related things and community development, which he's doing right now. CJ obviously would maintain public works, but be rebranded as deputy administrator for public works. There's some leadership opportunities there for him. But then the brand new one ultimately ends up being this deputy administrator of administration. So, yeah, lovely phrase. But it basically is just the other administrative offices that are generally focused here at City Hall. And so you've got oversight for IT, for the HR manager position, for the city clerk position, for all of finance and utility payments, and then library. Which, of course, library is not here in this building, but it's more of an administrative kind of role than maybe some of the other ones are that are a little bit more out and about in the community. So those end up being the positions that individual would help oversee. And the reality is, when you start talking about higher level senior management, each of these areas ends up being somewhat of a specialty. And you go to someplace like the International City County Management Association and get some training with them, you start learning the nuances of each of these different areas. What libraries do compared to what HR does, and you begin to understand the lingo and the language, and you can not run their department, because we've got great people who run those departments, but you need to give them some guidance, direction, oversight. What are you doing program-wise? What are you doing with employee development, which is a big issue for us. And it's very, very difficult to do all of that with 11 departments. That's my big emphasis. But I do think, just to try to boil this down, because we don't have all night, is the priority between administrative staff and management versus a unique department like public safety and police, and which is the higher priority. You can't do both. So do you say no to the administrative things so that maybe citywide, certain things are getting done that you think are important, but you're not able to develop your police department quite as quickly, and those challenges that we've continued to have? Or do you emphasize that because that is critical, but you're saying no to other things and delaying potentially other development that really overall for the city is important as well?
That's what I'm saying. So I agree with your change in the open fire chief. We put that off. We work with the fire department.
Yeah, and so there, if you'd noticed my email, it was basically a little bit the same thing. It's going to take us a while to decide what we're going to do with that position anyway. If we don't hire at least until January of 2026, you've saved a few months of salary, and that helps to balance.
And I agree with pushing off the two hires for chief. I don't agree with not hiring an IT person. We had a nice conversation with Tom earlier tonight about all the new IT stuff that's going to be happening. It's never ending. We know that. We talked about Karen. cameras we're gonna put everywhere in the city. We have to have somebody tie all that together, and I don't mean with cables, I mean like, make it work, make it where people can use it, make it work with somebody, you know, a taxa bathroom. You know, we get that right now, so Tom can't do it all. Tom might wanna take a vacation in 2026, maybe, I don't know, do you? So I really think we need that help, and I highly recommend postponing the deputy administration, thank you for giving this to me so I can read it.
You're welcome.
And we share the wealth with Aaron and Charles Heston. Heaton. Not Heston.
Heaton, Charlton Heston.
We share the wealth with those guys until we can get our feet underneath us financially to, you know, make some changes, make everybody pony up and do what they need to be doing.
I'm in agreement with that, except the police. Makes sense to me.
No, I mean, I've read Phil's email like you guys probably did. And he's indicating that the deputy administrator position is something that is needed. So I'm kind of the opposite of you guys for the most part. You know, for the deputy administrator position, and the two police starting in March.
You're
I'm
for
those.
I am too, with the addition of the police force. I think that's necessary. I mean, it's kind of the core. You've got chief doing stuff that he shouldn't have to do. And so you're gonna burn those individuals out. And then you're gonna be constantly going through, trying to find replacements. I think you just need to give them additional support as much as we possibly can.
But just to clarify, then the half year for two positions, is that your thinking, or more now?
More sooner, since it's a year for them to get up and running. In my mind, the sooner the better for that.
Okay.
As many as we can get on board.
Are we reserving budget for fire?
Yes, so the proposal has one full-time position, but not for the full year. So just for 3/4 of the year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what was the dollar amount for the police, or for the?
80.
It dropped it down to about 87,000 as opposed to the 110,000 plus benefits, so.
And then what are we allotting for officers?
That was almost an $80,000 savings by going half a year for two positions.
Okay, so for the year.
So it'd be about another
$80,000.
$80,000 to do the two positions for the whole year.
And we don't know if we'll do the fire chief, we just don't know. I mean, we need to work with the fire department, right? We, you know, a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces. I think it's just a good idea to leave it in the budget, and maybe it isn't. Maybe we just can take it out of the budget and we can hire another cop.
Yeah, and it's a good reminder that there are some things that you're gonna put in the budget because you couldn't do it if it wasn't in the budget, but you may not do it and you may not wanna do it. So that even a 3/4 full-time paid position doesn't mean you have to do it. Just means that the money's available. But I'll also tell you, if you approve it that way and you say, okay, it's October, let's start. No, we can't start yet. We can start thinking about it and planning for it, but you can't hire anybody because you don't have the funds for it.
And I do agree that you need the help and support, as you've mentioned. You were very,
On the deputy thing?
yes.
Because the problem is you can't do both.
Yep.
Now, I say you can't do both, but there are other transitions that you could do too. I mean, there's a few other projects, maybe you cut someplace else. You've already made the decision, you don't want to go to the postcard meeting, but you could go to the postcard meeting. But you got to be prepared to then tell the citizens, you just got to pay more, because you need more support in town. These are the way-offs, these are the things that you got to balance.
That's only an extra $100,000.
100 grand.
I mean,
Right,
Which is not, I mean, that's
but
an officer.
that's the two officers
Yeah.
right away.
But you're rolling the dice as to whether or not, what's the normal, I mean, if there is a normal approval rate for that meeting, is it fairly lax?
Again, it's not even approval, and that's one of the things that unfortunately I think was not as explained as articulately as it could be. It's not seeking approval. You're just telling the citizens, this is why we're doing what we're doing, but it's way too late to do anything about it. So we're going to take the property taxes from you that we've already said we're going to take from you, which is why we're here. We're just here to be held accountable for it, but it's way too late in the process to do anything about it.
But it
And if that's what we need to do, then we'll need to do that. I mean, I'm gonna be there, and one of you will be there too.
We're kind of stuck right here, right? Can't we go on somewhere else and cut so we can still do all this?
And you could, if, as we look at other projects or other
Well,
aspects.
that's what
Now,
I'm thinking.
no, I
because
will,
There's 30,000 here, 50,000 here, some other things I think we can cut and still do what we need to do here.
right. Now, one of the things I'll remind you as we keep going through all this is keep your funds in mind, because this is all general fund spending, but it really has nothing to do with some of the other funds, like the wastewater fund or the water fund.
Well,
You could cut till the cows come home in those areas, and it doesn't help you at all over here. But in the general fund, yes, you've got parks, you've got library, you've got other activities that we're doing. We're saving up funds for potentially a remodel at City Hall. Maybe you don't want to save any of those funds right now. Maybe we just can't do that. So, yeah.
So on the park side, where we're talking about that $300,000 shower house.
Correct. And that's a big one right there that could easily go. I mean, it would be
I
nice
don't
to
feel
see
that
it
we need
happen,
that.
but
It would be nice to have it, but yeah, at the same time, there's
There's wants and
reallocating
there
those-
needs.
the money.
Okay.
Yep, that is.
because if we drop that
Or a
completely,
want,
we'll continue to make plans to know exactly what we want to order and where it's going to sit, all that kind of fun stuff. But if we take out purchasing it all for the fiscal year, yeah, you've got $300,000 now to deal with. You've got your 2 officers right away. You can afford to do the deputy thing if you want to, and
That's
I
what
think
I
take
would
it
like
out.
to see
Good, I
done.
thought that in order to meet this plan, that was already accounted for, was dropping the bathroom project.
no, it's still in here.
Okay.
No,
Still
take
there.
that out
Let's drop the
Okay,
beds,
then,
drop
yeah.
park, and then
Yeah.
move forward.
with the officers and the assistant administrator position. Yep.
Thoughts on those?
I'm ready for both of them if we cut
Okay.
other places.
Yeah, and CJ had already mentioned to me, that's one of the big things that's probably at the top of the list that could go. You know, I left it in because it's been talked about, it's been kind of a priority to
What
want to
else
look
is
at,
on
but
that list? We can just jump to those.
that's the biggest ticket item.
One big ticket item I think was the new salt house, TJ?
Yeah.
The salt house that Lowell wanted. When would we actually need that? Would we need that in 26? It's a salt house.
It's a storage location where more salt could be stored.
Depends on how much it snows.
It comes down to, you can only get salt at certain times of the year, and during the winter, it gets a little short supply, so he wants to store it up, period, right?
We'll get another 64 for other improvements in the parks as well. That's furniture upgrades, long tables, parks, I mean, stuff that could be probably cut back.
Well, and I heard either
Or
Kevin
the
or Frank mention
streets.
about the Christmas lights.
Streets?
I'd love to have some better Christmas lights, but for a year, if we could push them off for a year, that's 40 grand. Maybe next
There's
year
parks.
Santa comes and we get lights, but, you know.
Streets.
Bullshit's 100 grand.
Work your magic, baby.
I like our snowflakes, but I happen to know that our streets guys, when they're putting them up, they say
They're-
they're falling apart and
they're
they're
in poor
rusting.
shape.
And when was the last time we replaced them?
I do not know.
I mean, we might, it's been a million years. We can put it off another year, but
Which one is
Yeah.
it?
you give them their phone numbers when they're complaining.
Just a couple.
Just kidding. But I mean, we are gonna have to budget for Christmas lights
Yep.
on Main Street because they are getting,
Oh, yes.
they're in
Okay.
sad shape,
On the-
sad shape.
So just a couple things, I guess. I know Phil's worked awful hard on this, and I did offer up some sacrificial lambs, I guess. Because in talking to my staff, all the public works guys, they don't want to lose the help. They want the bodies, just like we need at City Hall. You know, if you've spent any time up here, it's slammed. I mean, even when we're not here, we're doing stuff constantly. And I know like Mark and Tony are doing the same thing. So in talking to them about, there's a potential that things may need to start being cut, they said, we'd rather get rid of stuff or maybe put off a project that, you know, we don't need it right away, rather than, I guess, give up the help. I'll just touch on the park stuff, because I know there are, you know, we added a lot in parks this year. I know the RV park bathroom, that's $300,000. That's easy, you know, big swing at it right away. we could delay that. You know, our goal in the Parks Department, at least my vision, is over the next several years, you know, do a kind of a capital campaign. That's what that 30,000-ish for the shop study was kind of going in. My impression, at least talking to Phil, was that that would go into a larger kind of pool of money to do a capital improvement study citywide, but a focus on the parks, because we have outdated bathrooms. If you've gone down to that bathroom at RV Park, I believe that was the concession stand for Hardy baseball field many moons ago.
Pony Park, isn't it Pony Park?
And so
Well, it was
we-
Pony at one
Yeah.
time, and then it was.
Yep, the guys basically made a shower house out of a concession
They
stand.
did.
How often, I know we don't have cameras in there to watch people taking showers, but how
Yeah,
often do those showers really get used? Only probably by tent campers?
Yeah.
I mean, some of those.
Yeah,
motor
the
homes
occasional,
are
depending on what
pretty
they
damn
have.
nice. They're
Yep.
not gonna walk out of
Yep.
that to go into that shower.
Most campers are going to have that.
They're
And
all-
we've got water fills there, I mean, not just the main one when you come in where the dump is at, but you've got, is there at least a couple, two,
Yeah, there's,
four spigots? So, I mean, you could
Yeah.
fill, so
2 to
you could,
4.
you could shower in your camper for days
Yep.
without ever using that.
I'm sorry, what'd you say about the facility study?
I requested to put that in there, on, let's see, number is that 5213 professional services. So normally, we have, you know, we've tracked about $150 in there every year for parks, professional services. So that's where we kind of budget for engineering studies, things like that. If the park shop, if you haven't been out there, I'd encourage you to take a swing by there, especially when the snowplow season's going on. You can't walk sideways in that building.
But do we need money to tell us that?
The question
Correct.
is, how would you add on to it, though?
Well,
You know,
I mean, don't we have staff or people around here that tell us, and if you start going, that's why we need the other positions, because we gotta do that. But don't we have other means of getting this done besides,
We do.
you know, a study saying, well, that's a crappy shop?
Do you mean like going straight to design?
I would say-
Versus-
Or you're saying
But we don't
staff
have-
come up with ideas,
Yeah.
Yes.
and
Yeah,
we could
that's-
go that
I
route.
assume it'd just be cold storage, right? Just throw a building up.
We could, and we could do that. And I think that's what happened 25 years ago. There wasn't, I mean, I didn't think at the time, anyway, there was a lot of thought into the future. And I think where we benefit from some professional help is just kind of helping us see as city grows, trends, different things like that, to know what we need to plan for in the future. I could go and take a tape measure and start measuring up everything that we have and take a guess at what we need. It could get us 5 years, it could get us 20 years, I don't know.
I'm just thinking a study to tell us that we need something there, that doesn't make sense. I'd rather see that used
But
to.
it wouldn't be just to tell us we need something, it would be to lay out the concepts and what it should look like, where things would be, what are our needs at all the various parks. Do we have all the right equipment stored in certain places? Do you want to begin to consolidate? I mean, there's a lot more involved with it. And part of that study then would be getting an ultimate design out of it. It may not be the architectural design, so you may still have to spend a little bit more with that, but at least it's a clear, logical reason why you're gonna do what you do.
Thank you.
So yeah, then the bathroom, I mean, obviously that's something that could wait.
Yeah, that's a huge expense.
About the other improvements, park signs, that's
Yeah.
64 grand. Can you maybe cut that in half?
No.
Okay.
And I,
It's not just about like making them matchy-matchy. We have a lot of signs that are falling apart, that need to be replaced, or are non-existent. They're like our trail. Like, so if you have walked on the Lions Park Trail, try reading all the rules on that sign.
So
It's
30
gone.
32 can't match the.
Well, it's not just for the signs. I mean,
So-
we have,
So if I can
Go ahead.
interrupt, just because, again, we'll be here all night, if we get too much into certain weeds or details. Yeah, it's been, because again, we can play this game of a little bit here, a little bit there. $300,000, if you want to take that out right now, again, we can, and let me tell you, because we'll, again, start making some plans on what we would buy down the road sometime. But for $300,000, you get 2 police officers right away, an IT GIS guy right away, And that $100,000 can go back into sales tax. And you still don't have to go to the postcard meeting.
And the deputy admin, your deputy?
Yes.
Yeah,
You got because the deputies are in there already.
Yep.
Okay, the $300,000 gets you the 2 police officers right away. It gets you the IT guy right away. Gives you the $100,000 back right away.
Sold.
and the deputy administrator.
And the deputies, yes.
Perfect.
So,
Let's do it.
I'd never
Go sit
go
down.
bathroom.
Are you ready to go home?
Yes, because that's all in there.
It's
Again,
just, yeah,
we'll-
it's our
And,
trails.
and again, I just want to reemphasize, the budget simply means you can do it. Doesn't mean you have to do it or will do it. All of these things are going to come back to you. And at that point in time, you may say, that's the silliest idea that's ever come up,
So are we leaving
as far as
fire-
doing some
Fire
signs.
chief in for March?
Yes. So 75% of the year, so.
We're taking all the sign money?
yeah.
I
No.
think all we're doing is taking the 300,000.
All right.
yeah, we're keeping the Christmas lights, everything.
All we're doing is the 300,000.
Yeah, there you go. So far.
That's all we
All right,
talked about, yeah.
so, and I'm gonna go by a good list that some have put out. If you haven't talked to me about any of these things, there's nothing else to kind of talk about. But,
Talk about the
the-
generator,
the-
is that where you're going?
yes, well, that, and I'll just go in the order that your list was, but wastewater plant, just to give you a little idea, I know some of the questions came up on why some of the dollar amounts were a little bit higher. Now, keep in mind, I'd emphasize, that's a separate fund, so I think we can afford to do that. But one of the things that we got out from the workshop was the concern that we weren't taking care of all of the maintenance that needed to be done at the wastewater plant. At that point in time, we were recommending a 5% increase in rates, and that would just begin to give us a little bit of money. But if you wanted to do all of the maintenance that had been talked about there, the pumps that needed to be done, the screen that needed to be done, and a little bit of extra money, because you don't know what else might break throughout the year, so you
That
can't.
was my question.
And that's why we threw in the extra $30,000 between those two different accounts. It's because we're likely to need something for other things that we're not even thinking about right now. So you don't want to commit all of it to something brand new.
That was my assumption, but it was.
But what that requires is not a 5% increase, it's a 10% increase in sewer rates for the next 3 years. 30% over 3 years.
Which is, do we have approximate average, do we have dollar figures?
Average sewer,
$40.
yeah,
Yeah. It's
$3
yeah.
a month?
I mean, $3 to $4 a month, you know.
Per year?
Three to four,
So
yeah,
for
and then
years
the next year,
you're looking
it-
at $10, I mean, to me, that's fine.
yeah.
But when we start getting calls from people 3 years from now,
Well, and what else is, what also is, what also is in there too is enough money to do a rate study. Because again, what we've not been doing is laying out over the next 10 years, this is the maintenance that needs to be done, so therefore here's the rate structure that you need to make sure that you can do all of that. We've never done that. We've never laid that out, and then we we did with water, but that's partly because we just keep building, you know, and most of that's just to fund the construction, not the maintenance of it long term. We need to lay out those long-term plans, and then just be honest with the citizens to say, if you're gonna maintain your system, this is what it's gonna take. But right now is in there, we've increased it to 10% each year for the next 3 years. Probably have to borrow short-term for a year or two, a little bit of funds to do that maintenance this year, pay that back, and develop that rate study so that we know we're on a good glide path going forward. Okay. The police headquarters study, you know, obviously, the concern, let's talk about that, I guess. The concern is how quickly can we move to get power and generators at all of our facilities? And I would love to move as fast as we can. I just don't know, is it as easy as talking to an electrician, having him come in, he looks at where our main power source is, says, here's a spot where you can put a generator, and, 3 weeks later, I can have it all wired and you're ready to go. When we rewired Papillion City Hall, number one, we gutted the whole building, but it was brand-new service panels in the basement with a brand-new service connection to the generator that was outside, and documents like this from the electricians for the design that needed to be done to be able to do that. But again, we rewired the whole building. Here, we're not going to be rewiring buildings as much as just providing that alternate power source.
It's not that difficult.
So I'm committed that if we've got the money in there, before we spend it for something else, we'll do the evaluation to find out what it's going to take. because I think obviously that's a priority. And then we need to kind of lay out, well, what facilities are the priority? Do we want to make sure that our Blair EOC, Emergency Operations Center, is going to be at the PD? So therefore, that's going to be our number one priority to make sure that that's up and running. And the quicker we go more to the cloud with city services, we can get rid of some of our servers that are here, and we're less dependent upon power from that standpoint. So, we'll continue to move in that direction. And again, one of the things Rod always taught me, and it is true, ultimately, when you're approving dollar amounts, you're approving a dollar amount for the overall budget. You have flexibility throughout the year to say, you know what, I know I budgeted in that line item over there, but don't use it there, I want it over here. But what you can't do is you can't ask for more property tax, mid-year, and you're not supposed to exceed that total maximum dollar amount that you said you were going to spend. All the rest of it, let's just get it in there, get it approved, and then we'll fight the good battle of figuring out exactly how we're going to spend it. So I think that takes care of kind of the public safety kind of concerns. We've talked about parks, we've talked about the fire department.
Well, it doesn't, because you have $50,000 study for the safety of the police headquarters.
That was not, it was more of a study on, again, all of these studies are about how are we going to potentially remodel this building sometime down the road. That takes time to work through what's the needs analysis.
She specifically talked about it, I remember it's in this PowerPoint.
The window facing.
It's the
the
window.
Yeah, well, yes, oh, yeah.
I said, let's just go spend that money to make it safe, instead of doing a study to figure out what we're gonna do to make it safe. That's all I'm saying.
But those are two different things. The windows, some of those other things, we had budgeted through the public safety funds just to do. Now, he started saying, well, is this the best place for those offices? How are we going to expand? So do we need to think a little bit?
Conversation.
Right. So, I don't know. Come help me out, buddy. The facility study was more about long-term planning.
The proposal and my original intent of the proposal for a study was, as we grow, and I can already tell you, and I talked about it at the budget workshop, about the workspace. I want to move the officers' squad way out of their working space out of a hallway into an actual room. We've got to do that. We've got to make room. And the windows is a separate piece, but the study that I had put in there was for, let's look long-term down the road for what, this is just, when I'm talking about moving people out of a hallway into another room, that's a temporary fix. That's not housing them there for the next 15, 20 years. That's.
Yeah. And the facility changes that we talked about in last year's budget, this year's budget, I should say, still, we should continue to move forward with. That's what some of those public safety funds are for. Now, if we can't spend it this year, and obviously we're running out of how much of this fiscal year we have, we'll spend it next year. It just means that some of those line items are going to show more expense than what we had planned for, but you got more revenue because our public safety money rolls over because we haven't spent it. Okay. So the money's still there.
Okay.
Whether we can spend it in the last year or this year, we'll just kind of have to wait and see.
Next item.
Okay, thank you. Oh, good grief. Pool study. So we talked about $25,000 for a pool study. Again, the only point there is there's been lots of comments about zero depth entry, expanding the potential swim competition area. Is that something that really is necessary in the community? Then what does that look like? We potentially have leaking pipes under the ground, so how much of that needs to be changed? So it's a little different than just saying, well, we know what we want to do. Hire a contractor, come in here. What's it going to cost to kick this end of the pool out and go zero depth? Now, if that's all you want to do, then yeah, we could do that and it would be fairly inexpensive. But I think there's a need for understanding more about what's going on in the dynamics of that facility because of the amount of water that we lose on a regular basis, because of the pipes that are underground, and how much of that just needs to be changed. So that was the intent of that study.
Today's paper, Arlington's going to put a bond issue together in November, I think it was, for just a pool. That's it. It's a bond issue for a pool on my land. Okay.
Yeah, and we'll see if that passes.
Yeah, we'll see. Senior Center, there was support for that, so unless anyone's objecting, we've got the $35,000 to potentially, again, just because it's in the budget doesn't mean we're going to do it, but at least it's potentially available. Comprehensive plan, it's in there right now. What I did was, originally it was $200,000. I took 25% of that, so $50,000, and bumped it into the next fiscal year, because by the time we go through the whole selection process, get somebody on board, it's unlikely that we'd be done with the whole thing before the end of this upcoming fiscal year, which means we're into fiscal year 27, so we can push off some of that expense into that year. The bike path, all I can say is we're working well right now with the state. We've got some options on railroad. We've got more to share with you in the coming days, so I don't have any concern right now that we're going to lose that money. And if we ever did, and if it looks like it's getting shaky, we'd spend it right away on some other path, someplace else. But I think we're good on the staying where we are right now. The Grant Street
Kind of
house.
like a dog park, we just need to land the plane.
Yes, I know, and it gets frustrating. The house over here, we are working diligently on getting bids. I was hoping to have some of that information to share with you tonight. It'll probably come in the next week or so. So we'll have a better idea of what it's gonna take. Electrical is gonna be probably between $15,000 and $20,000 itself, just to upgrade the services that need to be done there. Keep in mind, we also need to do some major improvements to the front porch and provide ADA access for that. And then there's furniture and partitions. We've got, all of this furniture is going to ultimately go over there, but this is not the most logical layout for that new facility, which means we're probably going to take this center console, which shares a wall, break it into two, which means you need another wall. So that company's coming up in the next week or two to kind of look at both our house space needs, what we've got here, give us an estimate on what that's going to take. So we're just kind of crunching and pulling all things together. I'm not going to be surprised that we could spend more than the $50,000, but I think if we limit ourselves to that, it's in the budget. I think we could do things that way with the goal of trying to get the community development department over there sometime first quarter of next fiscal year, or October through December, sometime in there. That covers most everything that was, I think, in your email. Again, there's a lot of other things, but I haven't heard much from you on other specifics, and maybe the personnel and public safety were the key things. And again, by eliminating that bathroom, that was a big chunk. We can do several things with that $300,000.
Well, I think that, most of the other things that were concerns were, the main things were the personnel. It looked like that was where most contentions were, and taking that line item out for the bathrooms kind of solved that.
Okay. So ultimately, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and we don't have to end the conversation now, but ultimately what we need tonight is that this conversation becomes now kind of the, what's the word that's in the recommendation? Is it the recommended budget or proposed? Okay. The preliminary, yeah. So that would become now the preliminary budget that you would be approving. I'll work all the numbers together and we'll get you a new version of what these spreadsheets look like if you want to look at all that. Now that we know what your property tax taking is, I can continue to fill out the rest of the state forms, all that kind of stuff. And then what in tonight's proposal is this is the preliminary budget, and you're setting September 9th then for that public hearing where the official budget is going to be presented.
Couple of quick questions. I'm just curious, how come there are no line items for overtime in some of these, like park or police or?
Right. Historically, we've never had a separate line item. It gets incorporated into that salary dollar amount. And so usually what I end up doing is taking numbers that I get from Ben and then multiply it by 10% or something like that to cover some of those extra costs that might come up throughout the year, or if there's some additional help that's needed. Now, going forward, we could always add that if you wanted to, but historically, Rod never had it. I've
It would
not.
help us like with the police department,
Correct.
how much are we spending on overtime and,
Right.
How much the head count is.
Right. And with our new, system that we're gonna have starting, in mid-November, we've kind of put a moratorium on creating brand-new accounts right now because there's stuff that would have to go into the old system and then get transferred to the new system. But clearly, once we get there, yes, putting something together, dividing out a little bit of those monies so that going forward, we could budget for overtime is a great idea.
And even though salaries are part of the budget, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Big part,
What's that?
big part.
Yeah, like $7 million, I won't say. Just that's something I brought up to you in an email, the longevity pay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in favor of longevity pay for any employees that have had a break in their service to Blair. I think longevity pay like what the FOP has, continuous employment, and the recommendation, the COLA recommendations from the CAT says continued. I think that should be taken into consideration instead of leaving, break, coming back and then adding the two together makes longevity. I disagree with you.
And I think it's a great thing for you ultimately to decide on and tell us. We had our own internal conversation over what that is. Is longevity pay a thank you and pat on the back monetarily for working X number of years for the city of Blair, or is longevity pay a retention pay that as long as you continue to stay here, you might get it? But if you go away and learn more and then come back again, you got to start at ground zero. Personally, philosophically, I think longevity pay is a thank you for working this many years for the city of Blair. Whether it's all in a row or whether it's in pieces, you've been hired back because of some skill and ability that you're bringing to us. That was my intention, or at least that's the way I like to look at longevity pay. Others do look at it as retention pay, and if you leave and then come back, you get to start back at zero again, which to me is not as much of an incentive, to have really good people who go away maybe sometimes to come back. But ultimately, you're the policymakers, so you tell us how you want to see longevity pay. Is it continuous service, and if you leave and come back, you start from scratch? Or if you're here for 8 years, gone for 4, and then we bring you back, you start at 8, you don't obviously earn years while you're gone, but you retain what you had before, and you start from that point. And again, the breaks that we've got both in the union contract and now the CAT recommendation is starting at 10 years, and then I think it's 15 and 20, or those are the different steps. So 1, 2, and 3%. 1% at 10 years, 2% at 15 years, 3% then at 20. But 20 only consecutive or 20 total?
The way you just described it when you said the percentage, that sounds consecutive. It doesn't sound go away and come back and add it all up, and I got 12 years, so I get 1%. That's not how, the way you just described it to me, it's consecutive. And that's,
Well, the time periods are that way. The question is, again,
so if you were here and you left, or Johnny was, would you get your same vacation? Like if you had vacation time accumulated, well, I can get 4 weeks, I don't know what our policies are. So how long you gotta work at 4 weeks? About 10.
Yeah, 10 to 12 years, something like that.
So I didn't quite make it, but I worked 2 more years and I can get in 4 weeks.
Historically, though, they probably started from scratch.
So then why would we pay somebody that went away and comes back?
Yeah, when the CAT talked about this, I don't have my glasses. It's about to adjust my glasses. It's what, nothing good happens at 10:30. The longevity percentage increase would only count towards employees with their years of service. So we're not saying that if you go and leave for a year and you come back, or you leave for 5 years, you come back and you work for us for 10 years, okay, 15 years, you're starting at 15 years in the vacation table.
Yeah.
It doesn't apply towards any other policy
It
except for.
obviously never includes when you're gone.
Correct.
The question is,
So-
does it include your first round and your
No.
second round?
For vacation, it would be when you come back, you're starting on year 1.
Then this pay should include either, I think it should match up. In fact, I've never even heard of this pay kind of before, maybe it's a new thing, I'm an old guy. I can't catch you, Frank.
No, I know it.
I mean, longevity pay is one of those things that's kind of creeping into the public sector.
Could be. It sounds like, to me, it should be, I don't know where you're going, Mr. Willis, but it sounds like it should be consecutive.
Yeah, that's why I said continued employment.
I think that.
And I will say, I did some digging. I saw in our handbook currently states, it has a section about reinstatement after service of break, and it's currently 6 months. So if you work for us, then you leave. If you come back within 6 months, I think the city administrator has that ability to put you back in that position with the same eligibility. So I found that, just so
Well,
you're
that makes sense.
aware.
Yeah, that's in the handbook, so,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
but not.
Can I make a motion?
Well, yeah, I mean, it would help, because this is gonna be one of the bones of contention, we had this debate, and since I get to tell people what to do sometimes, I told him this was my idea, but obviously you're the ones who have to make the policy. Is it continuous, is it total service over time, or is it only full stretches? And if you leave for whatever reason, and then we bring you back, and again, we're not taking people back because, oh, now they want a job again, and I guess you're the, what I have to put up with. We're oftentimes, if it's an employee who's been with us before, it's because we specifically want them to come work for us again. It'd be fun.
Well, what's the,
Anybody like the idea that it should be total, added up over time? What?
Cumulative?
Cumulative, yeah, versus continuous or.
I guess I look at it as if we're rewarding them for being here so long, you should be rewarded for 15, that's something that you would consider, God, do I want to leave and give that up? That should kind of come into play. I would think it would be continuous.
I think most companies are, my company was like that too. If you left, and I don't even know if there was a time frame, you left, you came back, you were a new employee, day one with everything. You lost all of those vacation hours and.
That's what you're rewarding them for, is continuous service.
Sounds like at least four are there. Anybody different? Going once, going twice? Ben wins. Ah. All right.
Question, and this budget includes the 101,000 for the animal shelter, correct?
It still does, yes, so thank you for mentioning that. So obviously, if you, as a group, feel differently about that, I need to know that.
I want to have a conversation like we
Yeah.
had with.
Now, again, we can budget for it. We've got an agreement that we've got to work out with them.
I would rather keep it in the budget and
Right.
then decide.
Yes, but,
I think we need to put some heat on the county.
and I fully agree. Yeah.
Shut them off.
And the sad reality is going to be, it may be that it takes the public acknowledgement that the county says, kill them. We don't care.
But even if we cut them off, those expenses are still gonna be
We know
there,
that.
Right.
so,
You
unfortunately.
want to come to the meeting?
I would, absolutely.
Because one of the worst things is,
Fine.
she's exactly right, that a lot of animals get dumped at the airport or just in town.
Yeah.
you know. And,
It's gonna go everywhere.
so,
All right.
all right, any other things? Thank you.
Next.
thank you.
Did you wanna make your,
Administrator report.
no, we're not there yet. Frank's gonna make a
I
motion.
make a motion to approve the preliminary budget for year 2025-2026 and authorize the publication of the budget hearing on September 9th, 2025.
Second.
You amended your budget. So you amended it. So
Oh,
you
it's-
just mention that you amended it.
As presented tonight?
Just,
As amended tonight. Okay.
thank you. We have a second.
Second.
Second, yes.
We have a motion and a second to approve the preliminary budget for the fiscal year 25-26 as amended. Please register your vote. At 10:48. Woo. Good conversation, so.
Councilmember present voting aye.
Motion passes. Phil, do you have anything else to say?
CJ, get up here and tell them about stoplights.
For October 1st?
Maybe 2 weeks from now.
Nice.
So I don't know if anybody been out that way and noticed the pile of shiny new poles sitting
Yep.
there. They came actually a week early. Let's see, they were supposed to be here yesterday. They were here middle of last week. And I noticed today they were working on finishing up the foundations, putting in, there's gonna be a pre-warning light. So similar to when you get down towards Omaha, when the lights start going, I can't remember how many feet out on Highway 75 that'll go in. Actually, the start of the meeting was talking to Rich Zielinski, who was here to talk about the annexation stuff. He works for the state. He's been our project manager on this project from the state. He said, we're looking at, once they get going here, hopefully like 10 days they'll get put in. And when they're ready to go, he said he's got approval from Tom Goodbarn that we're not gonna jack around anymore. We're gonna get these things fired up and moving. So hopefully before October 1st.
They're just gonna put the one pre-warning coming from 75 going north?
Yeah, as you're coming into town.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
And once we get that done, we will be talking to the state about trying to lower their speed limit, all the way down to where the South Cargill entrance is.
And redesignate the highways.
Redesignate the highways.
Yes, yes.
And it sounds like that's been an ongoing conversation
It has.
at the state level.
How hard is it
Yes.
to lower the speed limit? I mean, could they go from the roundabout into Blair 35 instead of 45? Because they go 55.
I'll sneak out there and put a new sign up right now.
We can make some of those requests.
We can make
As
requests.
we get the improvements with Blair Crossing done, that would be the time to kind of implement some of that stuff.
All right, thank you.
Last thing real quick is just a reminder to all of you that round 2 of all the storm pickup is going to be starting tomorrow and on Wednesday, and our guys have done a fantastic job.
Yes, they have. Great job. And I think pass along to the crew an amazing job. They did great.
I move to adjourn this meeting of the Blair City Council.
Second it.
We have a motion, a second, to adjourn the meeting. Please register your vote. Meeting adjourned.
This was a record.
Go to bed, Frank.